Countdown. And we are live. Welcome, everybody who is just joining in. If you're just joining in, welcome to the third episode of the Boys in the Big Apple podcast. I am so excited to be back with Idiot 1 and Idiot 2. Of course, me being the greatest. I know. Wow. Thank you very much. Real excited. From a Giants fan. So what? I'm sorry. What was that?
This is coming from a Giants fan, so.
Well, you know what, Sean? Cry about it. Cry about it, William. But I'm really excited to be back with these two guys. I'm really excited to be back with, the fans and everything else. We're going to be watching the Yankees game as we are right now. I got to turn on the TV down here real quick. But obviously these guys are watching Football Talk with Benny. What's up? Potato says, what did they steal from the Knicks? Did the NBA finally steal the franchise from James Dolan? No, it wasn't that, unfortunately.
They stole a win.
They stole a win. And, Luca, you want to get into it since you are the bigger Knicks guy?
Yes, Luca.
All right. So, we won last week. It's incredible. I mean, Sean, first, did you see the replay of the Randall shot, Sean?
I saw overtime. I didn't see regulation. I saw overtime. So I did see I saw everything.
Well, I know, but the Knicks posted on their Instagram the incredible shot. If I can send it to you if you want. It's like he channeled his inner Kawhi, but
yeah.
But again, point. So it was. I forget who was shooting. The shot was attempted by a Philly player. I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was, I don't know, Danny Green or whoever. So it went off the rim, I think, and the refs ruled that Julius Randle pushed Tobias Harris, which technically means while attempting to get the ball, that's a loose ball foul, in which I don't believe it was, or if it was, why call it that? Because the refs were inconsistent. I don't think it was a foul. And go ahead.
Good. No, you go ahead. My point's simple.
Well, I was gonna say, if you believe it's a foul, you should also believe why didn't they call that how many times earlier? Because the Knicks were getting hacked and whacked all game.
Mm-hmm. Jay Bruce, center field. That's caught one down. I was just going to say, you know what? I don't understand. What is it? It's been like this all season with the Knicks. You look at last week, against Brooklyn, and now you got this week against Philly. I don't understand what it is. It feels like all year it's been issues with the refs. I never thought I'd see anything worse than NFL referees. I'm a newer NBA fan, so I can't say for sure how bad they were before this year, but I never thought I'd see anything worse in the NFL. Maybe Angel Hernandez looked good. That's kind of saying something. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. Let me get this real quickly. You're not wrong.
Well, it's not even just the Knicks. They've done this to multiple teams.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm saying just as Joseph, by the way, your profile picture is pretty cool. That's Kenny Galladay. We'll talk about free agency in just a couple of minutes because obviously the Yankee game is still on, and the Knicks got robbed, and we'll still discuss March Madness. Even though I'm to be honest with you, I'm not that big into it as like everybody else is with brackets and shit like that. But referees in every league, and I'm not making excuses at all. Let's see.
Yes. Not necessarily the same exact thing.
Not the same thing, but they got robbed. We were on stream, I think. Guys, we were on stream. That was last week.
Yeah.
So it's been like how many days in a row? And, yes, Galladay is the guy. As I said, I'll get to it in a minute, and I know you guys are very patient. Thank you to the 7 people that are tuning into this podcast right now. I'm actually going to put the call-in link in the thing. So if you guys haven't already, follow these guys on Twitter. I think I also put their Instagrams in there. What was I going to say? With these refs, and this goes for any league, and as I said, I'm not making excuses. The Knicks got robbed last night. They don't have to answer the questions. They don't have to, their calls get crucial as the game goes on. And with that, they fuck up. which is absolutely no excuse. And that's the problem. They cost another team, make a crucial make a crucial call. And what happens is the team has to pay for it and answer the questions. Julius Randle had to answer the questions. Tom Thibodeau had to answer the questions. So, and the fact that it's also so stupid. You know, I don't know if I'd say cancel the game. 2 refs? Really? 2 refs last night, and you're going to let them, officiate a game. Come on. That's ridiculous.
And the worst part is, the NBA is not even going to do anything because it creates controversy. What does controversy create? Money. So the NBA is not going to do anything about it. We know they won't. It's like this in all sports. It's a problem.
Luka? His camera froze. Something's up with him today.
Yeah, he's been lagging. He's been lagging a lot so far.
Your camera's been lagging a lot.
Do you want me to leave or?
Luka, you want to leave? I was gonna say maybe you should leave.
I don't know if leaving will change it, but you can try. I was gonna say. Let me just get my comfortable chair for all the people that are here. I needed my comfortable chair. I can't be sitting in a rock.
Why? You pretty much do it all the time anyway. Right now it's 2-0 Phillies. Aaron Nola's still pitching. We're in the bottom of the 5th. 2-2 count with 2 outs. Gary Sanchez at the plate. I can't tell, Alex. Is it raining? It looks like it's raining.
It might.
I can't tell. It looks like
ball outside. The count is 3-2.
It's raining.
So
you can see it.
Real quickly. Luka can't handle. Oh my. Sean, look at his comment.
Look at
this one. Look at this one.
That's good. I like that.
Luka, potatoes roasting you right now, man.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the computer, Luka.
Okay. The internet's
maybe it's the computer.
Fine. The internet's actually fine.
No, I just said maybe it's the computer because you're using, the other laptop, right?
Yeah.
Joseph Balby says it's a Jets fan. It's because he's a Jets fan too. So, real quickly, as the Yankee game is going on, actually, let me just put up a banner, actually. I think I could still do it, I want to say, because I still have that sticker at the bottom. Well, of course you swing at that. Why wouldn't you?
And the 5-2 Phillies. This is the second straight week we've had a... Oh, no. Never mind. Well, second straight week we've had our favorite teams playing.
Top of the 6th it's going to?
Yep.
All right. So, there's a score for you guys. And I know some of the guys in the comment section aren't, the big baseball fans. But let me get to the Kenny Galladay subject just real quick before we go on anything else. And if you guys haven't already, I'll go – my video just recently, the one that premiered at 8 o'clock, went into more depth about the Adoree Jackson signing, what I think of it. But let me get to Galladay. Let's see. Potato says, well, they did have Coach of the Year Adam Gase, who almost got them the first-round pick overall.
Almost. Almost.
What's going on, Nikki? Let me quickly, and as I said, I'll do this for how many other people who are here. If you guys haven't already, go check out the latest video. I mean, it's 6 minutes. It's not like 20 minutes. If it was like 20 minutes, I would go into depth more. I mean, I might still do it. Kenny Galladay, great signing by the Giants. You could argue overpay or not, but his cap hit for this year is only about $4.5 million, I want to say. Great job by the Giants in terms of, up house, however you call it. What was I going to say? Kevin Abrams, Dave Gettleman, Joe Judge, bringing them in here for like 3-4 nights, and they basically said, hey, we're doing this, we're creating a culture, and he bought into it, which is great for the Giants. It creates that long deep ball guy that the Giants have been clamoring for. And for Darius Slayton, you get him to the other side of the field. You don't have all the concentration on him, and he doesn't get safety help, which means he could be open a lot of the times. And then obviously, again, Kenny Galladay. Let me just quickly switch some part of my connection. I'm not gonna lag out, or I might, but
look, I got a question for you when this is all done, and it's relating to the Jets situation.
Okay.
Obviously, all right. And obviously, I will go over the biggest losers, the biggest winners, and teams who are in the same situation or a similar situation as they were last year later on in the show. What was I going to say? Could we get out 2 years? No problem. I mean, the cornerback we signed today. I'll get to that in just a second. But there was a guy that, got a big receiver, a 50-50 ball guy. I like him. You could go in the draft BPA, but in my opinion, I wouldn't. And here is why. Now, as I said, how many times the last video that premiered at 8 o'clock, has the big announcement in it towards the end, but also has what I feel on Adoree Jackson. And, it's not that I'm against the signing of this guy. I think that he did, some good things, but he also, mixed results from Tennessee. And coming from Tennessee, and I don't care what your situation is, whether you come from a bad defense or a good defense. He got injured last year, and he was also, before that, that's a foul ball, a part of a bad defense in Tennessee. And, it's not an excuse for Jackson, but at the same time, you had Malcolm Butler and you had Desmond King, who was traded there, and both of their stats imploded. And I'm talking badly in terms of completion percentage, in terms of how many, targets they got. Their pass rush was even worse, but, that's not even the point right now. And I'm just not a fan. And a 1-year prove-it deal I would like. But I'm just really, to be honest, not a fan.
That's pitch from O'Day for a strikeout, 1 away.
I'm just not a fan of signing a guy to a 3-year, $39 million contract. Someone who's technically, if Titans fans want to call it a bust first-round pick that was drafted in 2017. So we'll see. And, as I said, I would love to be proven wrong at any point in time. And you could use that video as reference as my receipt or as your receipt and say, hey, Big Blue in the Bronx said that Adoree Jackson wasn't going to do good or the contract wouldn't live out, and look what happened now. I want to be proven wrong as a Giants fan. I'm not a negative Nancy like all the freaking Twitter GMs. But the point is that I just don't think it was right. You sign a guy like Adoree Jackson, who's coming off an injury, and didn't really, have the greatest of success as a first-round pick coming off, from Tennessee. Potato says they had defense in Tennessee. I thought it's King Henry stampeding over enemies. I mean, the Josh Norman thing, that was pretty cool, but unfortunately that play actually didn't count because there was an offensive penalty and there was also a defensive penalty, I want to say. Yeah. With the defense they had,
Henry, so I'm so proud of that.
Potato said, going back to what Potato said about they had defense in Tennessee, I really disagree with that. And it's not necessarily, they had, the bad talent. No, the talent was fine. Malcolm Butler was still okay as the number 1 corner. Adoree Jackson, Desmond King they traded for, but they just couldn't get it done on defense, and they had one of the worst in the league last year. I think it was coaching, because I'm pretty sure. Now, Titans fans, I don't know if I tagged the Titans in this video or whatever, but for Titans fans and stuff like that, as I said, don't know the situation, but I'm going to think it was coaching or just players not, doing their jobs. So they didn't necessarily have the best defense. The year before, though, they had a good defense. But that's just me. Sean, you want to go to your Jets thing with Luka?
Yeah. Okay. So the question is for you, Luka. So obviously, we all know Juju Smith-Schuster is now a Pittsburgh Steeler for at least 1 more year. Luka, where does that put you guys at now in terms of the wide receiver position? What do you guys plan on going for now?
I think we've upgraded the wide receiver position. We obviously gave us Jamison Crowder. We have Bill is a 4th receiver who's also good in the slot. He's very productive.
Is he lagging out for you?
Draft the guy at least.
Yeah,
Luka, you're lagging out.
Yeah, we're not. It's hard to understand you. Luka, maybe you should try on your phone, because I think if that's what you were doing.
Laptop. Because I know what laptop he's using, and as I said, I think
we officially lost him.
I don't think he's on Earth anymore.
Yeah.
Sean,
anyway,
you're on your phone, so I'll just text him and say, use the phone or the
Yeah.
school laptop.
As of now, it is 2-0 Phillies. I don't know who that. I don't know the guy's
All right,
first
he
name.
officially crapped out.
Yeah.
So
It's
let me get to
2-0, 1 out, 1 on. Jeff Mathis, that's an old name. Is
that. I'm
up
surprised
to,
he's still in the league as a catcher.
I haven't heard that name in a long time. Anyway, I will just say this before we do before he does get back. As far as bringing Juju back, I like it. It's a 1-year prove it deal. So he made a lot of stupid mistakes last year, did a lot of stupid things. So grounded to third, to second for 1, not in time for a double play, but they do get the out. Last year he did a lot of dumb things, but it's time to grow up. He's still young. He's still immature, I guess you could say. He's not that much older than us. So I like that they gave him the 1-year chance. With the cap, obviously we couldn't give him a big deal even if he wanted one. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I like that they brought him back. Big Ben wanted him back, so I think they made the right move bringing him in for a 1-year deal. Ronald Torreyes, former Yankee, up to the plate. Alex, I miss Ronald Torreyes. How about you?
I miss him. Tyler Wade is like the Chinese knockoff of things. Unfortunately. Let me see this one pitch. You're way ahead of me, unfortunately.
That pitch could have been a strike.
I forgot what I was going to say now. Big Ben, the leader of men, Potato says. Going back to Adam Schefter thing.
He knows exactly what the real saying is from UT.
It's a UT reference, isn't it, right?
Yeah. You watch his Days of Our Steelers?
Well, yeah,
Alex,
I've seen it. Let's see.
Yeah, then you know that.
So for any Giants fans or any fans here, I'm just going to quickly share my screen because I know Potato was talking about it. Here are the stuff regarding Adoree Jackson's contract. Now, signing bonus $13.5 million. As I said, to be honest with you, I'm not a fan of the contract because this guy he's not a number one corner, A, and B, there's guys out there like Kyle Fuller getting prove-it deals. And this guy who isn't much, he's a solid, decent corner. He had a good 2019. He had a decent 2018. I've heard mixed reactions from Titans fans. 2020, he obviously didn't do good because of the schematic fit. And I know Potato was talking about it, that the entertainer said it was like a schematic fit or something like that. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with him there. But in terms of this, you're committing to this guy for the next 3 years. And that's what I have a problem with. Because what if he's bad in year 1 or bad in year 2 or something like that, and you just have uneven stuff from him? I just have a problem with that. And I just really think it's a gross overpay. I'm sorry. I haven't been, critiquing Gettleman a lot of his moves. I'm fine with the Johnson move. I'm fine with the Booker move, $3 million a year. I think a lot of people are complaining about it for no reason. But in terms of this, I just really think for a considered bust of a first-round pick that the Giants should not have spent this much money. I think they could have gotten a backup guard somewhere.
Torreyes to left for a base hit. Alex, let me ask you this, though. I agree with you 100% on the overpay. But with James Bradbury, do you think that if Bradbury covers at number 1 receivers, that Adoree Jackson could prove a lot of people wrong because maybe he won't always be lined up against the other team's top receiver?
Well, it depends how the Giants actually do it because there's a lot of times last year, and obviously Sean's a Steelers fan. He's not a Giants fan, so I have to tell him this stuff. But there's a lot of times, even last year, where it was like Washington was an example. I think the first Philly game was an example. So weeks 6 and 7, precisely. And I'll get to the Adoree Jackson thing in a moment, but actually, you know what? I'll get to it now. Thing is, though, he had Malcolm Butler. Malcolm Butler was the number 1 corner in Tennessee. Adoree Jackson was the number 2 guy.
I didn't think about that.
And if you look at some of his stats, and I'm not a guy who watches film. I'm not, a draft analyst. I'm not, just an NFL Network guy that watches film or studies that stuff. I've never played football. So I really, to be honest with you, I could point out some things in terms of technique, but I'm not perfect on film. But going back to the Adoree Jackson thing, he wasn't the number 1 corner in Tennessee, A. And B, you look at week 6 and 7 of last year for the New York Giants, and am I the only person here now? Because Sean seemed to be crapping out. Oh boy, this is gonna be a fun night, everybody. I don't know what everybody's. Some people just I don't know. Anyway, going back to the Adoree Jackson thing, and maybe Sean will intervene when he comes back, which he is back right now. You made it faster back than Luka. I'm surprised.
I think it's gonna be one of them nights because you started lagging, so I was starting to wonder if something was wrong with your camera, and then I got kicked.
Anyway, again, what is going on?
I don't know.
This is gonna be the interruption podcast. They just ended the inning, right? Sean, you're lagging. I don't know what's going on tonight. Let me hide this so I can edit this out quickly.
Cameras.
I can't make it. Luca's back, so we'll see how this goes. Which laptop are you? See, I can see you clearly now. What laptop are you on?
I'm on the same laptop.
Really?
I just restarted the machine.
See, now Sean crapped out. This is going to be the interruption podcast, everybody. But let me go back to no, Sean's back. See, right. Lucas fine now.
Again. And I don't know. Let's see how long we can last.
Yeah, you guys clearly aren't 60-minute men.
Shut up.
Anyway,
lasted longer than Luka did. So
yeah, the thing is with the cornerback situation last year, and he was dealing with misfits at the cornerback position. Meaning Patrick Graham and the defensive staff and whatever. So he had Ryan Lewis and Isaac Yiadom at corner, but Ryan Lewis was the starter week 6 and week 7, at least that I know. And he would flip-flop him and James Bradberry on the number 1 receiver. This wasn't just, stick to your guy. No, it was a flip-flop. It worked in week 6, not really in week 7. I mean, Bradberry was having sometimes a tough time on the curl routes and stuff like that Deshaun Jackson was running. I remember the first couple minutes of the game. But that's pretty much what I think of that. And as I said, Adoree Jackson, just to finally just recap my thoughts on that, and he's gone again. Just to finally recap my thoughts, it's like, once again, I don't hate Adoree Jackson. I don't hate the signing, just the contract details for a guy who was a first-round bust basically in Tennessee. Whatever situation he was given, whatever, it just seems like an overpay I think the Giants didn't need to make. And, Titans fans have honestly been giving me different reactions. Because one said, he's a decent corner. He'll go back to his 2019 form. One said, he gets beat a lot. One said, his punt returns aren't good. And I don't give a flying rat's ass about punt returns. I know special teams matters. But, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about how he covers. So, honest opinion, I would not oppose taking a cornerback. Everybody thinks it's off the table now. I think it might be because, they're sticking to him for 3 years, or at least they intend to. But in regards to that, I would still draft a corner. BPA, but I would still draft a corner.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, 2-0. Bottom of the 6th, Clint Frazier up to bat, and then the 1-2 count. Noah's still in the 6th inning.
It's interesting. Hopefully, they don't pull him out in the bottom of the 9th. Excuse me, that's done already. I was so used to that. It's stupid crap. As I said, guys, for the 5 viewers that are here, like, comment, subscribe, follow these guys, and also, the call-in link should be above all of Potato's comments.
Hopefully, we won't have too many issues.
Yeah.
I mean, it really hasn't been much with the viewers. It's really been you two.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't know. Remember, we had the same issue like 2 weeks ago with the 2 guests. So.
Sean, what do you think of the
Potato
release
to respond to your comment? Hold on, real quick. Potato to respond to your comment. You're funny. You're funny. Go ahead, Luca.
What do you think of the Steelers having Steven Nelson be traded? Well, he hasn't been traded yet, but excuse me, can't talk tonight. The Steelers told him he could ask for a trade.
I'm not happy about that, and I'll tell you why. Because he has been, him and Joe Hayden together have been very well. They've played very well at their positions. Why they let him do it, I'm not 100% sure. My guess, I don't know if it has anything to do with the cap. I think if it was then, I think they would just come out and try to make a trade. We'll see. But right now, I'm not happy because we keep losing. We've lost Bud Dupree, huge loss. Although I believe in Alex Highsmith. We lost. Oh man, my mind just went blank.
Tyson Alualu.
You didn't lose
Tyson Alualu. No, I'm saying I believe in Highsmith as a replacement.
Okay.
Mike Hilton betraying us.
Is it not draft depth piece?
Yeah, we lost Mike Hilton. He betrayed us to the Bengals. Screw you, Hilton. So, it's a little worrisome because we're starting to. I mean, we got QB or cornerback depth in Sutton and Lane, but not to the level of Hayden and Nelson. So, I don't know. I'm not happy about that, and I hope they don't trade him.
I'm going to look up his cap hit for the year.
Yeah, that might have to do something with it because he was. I mean, Sean, how can I mean? I know you didn't get to watch a lot of the games, but what did you think of Nelson?
He played really well. He was a leader. Him and Hayden together, they were really. Nelson had a couple. I know he had an interception against Philly. Yeah, he had quite a few. Luca, while you're at that, see how many interceptions he had this year.
I already have the stats.
First off, before Alex brings in the stats or whatever, his cap hit is $14 million.
Yeah, that
I guess
plays into probably why he should or he's could get traded. 2 interceptions this year. As far as physicality goes, 9 pass deflections.
Oh, come on. That's not a strike.
That is there, Sean.
2 down. Bottom is 2-0 Phillies.
Decent corner.
I want the Jets to pursue him, but I wonder if the Steelers are going to release him or they're going to trade him. They're going
to trade him.
Yeah, they want something out of it. And if the Steelers are going to trade him, I want the Jets to trade for him because he's a good number 2 corner, have Bryce Hall play the number 1, or sign another cornerback in free agency. Right now, the Jets are missing 2 interior offensive linemen. Ideally, you do not want Van Roten or Lewis starting day 1 of 2021. You want 2 guards. You need 2 guards. What QB are the Jets going to draft? Apparently, people are saying that Joe Douglas loves Zach Wilson, and I'm on the Zach Wilson train. So we better draft him.
Mm-hmm. Remember, you were on the Lawrence train.
Yeah, look what happened to that.
What was I going to say? As far as NFL news goes, the Indianapolis Colts have signed former Chargers left tackle Sam Tebby to a contract.
Well, other than that move, I was going to say I don't mind if we get Fields either. But again, going back to the guard situation, we need 1 interior offensive lineman by draft or free agency, or both by the draft. I'm fine with that. We need a second corner because Bryce Hall could ideally be your number 1. You need a slot corner, second corner, or slot corner. Resigning Brian Poole would be incredibly ideal. And I don't think there's much to go from there. People are saying outside linebacker. I think you can sign KJ Wright to a bargain deal.
Mm-hmm. Nice play for the final out.
I mean, you know what?
2-0 Phillies. Was that Torres that made that play?
Yes.
Yeah. He's sticking it to the Yankees. I'm glad he is. Shouldn't have let him go. I got some baseball to bring up to you guys afterward. I want to talk about a rumor that was brought up today about the Yankees.
I mean, here's a little joke I'm going to make for you guys. The Jaguars can draft Zach Wilson, right?
Yeah, no.
No. No. If they had the number
Not
2
happening.
spot, maybe they could.
Come on. I want the Jaguars to draft Zach Wilson so we can get Lawrence.
Not happening. Not happening.
Unless they draft Justin Fields because of what's his face, Urban Meyer.
I could see that, but that's not going to happen.
I think everybody would go berserk at that point. Let's see. Up here,
That's like when everybody freaked out. That'll be worse than when people freaked out over Daniel Jones getting drafted.
yeah, I was one of those people. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, so was me and my father when we were watching that. Our jaws hit the floor when they picked him. I was convinced they were taking Haskins. I think my father was. I was honestly convinced, and now Gettleman is telling everybody that we were all wrong.
Yeah, I mean, Haskins is a fucking bum.
Well, we'll see if Pittsburgh can fix him, but I ain't gambling on that.
Sean, they just got a question. I know you're very specialized. I mean, you're not a geek, but you're not you know. As far as answering this question, I think you know what you're talking about.
Okay, so if there was a hard cap in MLB, now they have something similar. It's called the luxury tax. That's basically our version or MLB's version of the salary cap. It doesn't have any effect. Now, if they had an actual hard cap in the MLB, imagine all the pieces that would need to be traded. The Yankees would have to tank.
Mike Trout
honestly,
would have one of the biggest cap hits in baseball at that time.
I would say the Phillies. Look at all the Philly contracts they got. They spent over $500 million on people.
Bryce Harper.
You know, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto. They got tons of pieces. So a hard cap, it's hard to say. The time for a salary cap was years ago. Now, MLB, I don't know. That's a tough question because again, you would have to restructure so many contracts. Alex, you named a few. Trout would need a huge
Fernando
Tatis, Garrett Cole, DJ LeMahieu. Honestly, okay, this is gonna sound really stupid, but I almost feel like MLB would need a year off to handle all of that.
Need a lot of things.
I think there'd be a strike at that point. Honestly, if MLB ever tried to implement a salary cap, there would be a strike, and there still could be. They still have not come to an agreement yet. So, if after this year, we're not guaranteed baseball after. So, we have to see how that turns out. Anyway, since we're already on the topic of MLB, I want to ask you guys about this rumor about the Corey Seager possibly coming to the Yankees next year. The rumor is, I don't remember who the source was. Somebody might have to fact check me on that. But they said that the Yankees were cheap this past offseason because they might want Corey Seager. How do you guys feel about that?
I think that's a bunch of. Listen. Every year it's always something. Whether they win the World. if it was
not over, but yeah, Didi Gregorius, right field. There it goes. See ya.
Why do they stick it to us like this?
All the former Yankees are destroying us right now.
Guys, as always, if you have questions regarding anything, Potato, thank you for being so active in the chat. As I said, I just advertised on Twitter if anyone wants to talk about free agency, MLB, Knicks getting robbed,
Before we get into the Corey Seager thing, I want to answer Potato's question with a little bit of depth. It's 4-0 Yanks, by the way. Phillies, by the way. So there has been a war between the Players Association and MLB and the owners. That's where the issues are coming. Let's look at last year. The MLB owners didn't want to have a season last year because of COVID. Oh boy, Sanchez hurt.
Oh, he got hit in the no area. At least I think
boy. So. Yeah, I know that feeling. That's not a good feeling. I have felt that. I feel his pain. I used to be a catcher. That's not good. We'll get to our point in a second. We want to see right now the trainers are out checking, Gary Sanchez. I want to see a replay because I want to confirm where that hit him. This isn't good. Okay, here we go. Wilson throws. Oh, that got him. That got him in the no-no zone.
area. Oh,
That got
yeah.
him.
I don't know that the law protects that part, honestly.
No, and I used to be a catcher. I know he's staying in. Okay, he's staying in. But I know that feeling. That's not a good feeling. Anyway, back to what we were talking about, and you guys even backing up on some of this. Last year, the Players Association and the owners fighting over how many games to play. Should we play? Should we not play? You know, a lot of stuff. Alex, your scoreboard's still wrong.
Oh shit!
It's 4-0. So and now they have now is I guess their contract year where the CBA needs to be renewed, and MLB and the Players Associations are not on good terms right now. So it's not the last year for MLB, but we could be in a 1994 style strike. So we pray and hope they can come to their senses. But at the rate MLB's been going these last 2 years, I wouldn't rule it out, honestly. That'd be bad timing for me since I'm moving to the city. No Yankee baseball.
Yeah.
I would not be happy. So anyway, let's get back to Corey Seager. So Alex, continue what you were saying about Seager, and then we'll let Luca go.
Yeah, and also I have something to bring up after this, but obviously we'll get to this first. I don't think that I don't just. It's every year, whether they win the World Series this year or not. It's always that one next step piece. Garrett Cole was supposed to be that. We didn't even, go to the World Series last year. And you know what? You could call us spoiled fans. It's always that piece. It's always that, we need this. It's always something. Which you can have with teams.
And sometimes, just to add to your point, you don't always need to go out and get the top quality stars. Look at how many homegrown guys we've built, or nobody's
That's the
we
problem
built.
with the Yankees is that they always trade. Meanwhile, the guys in their homegrown system are good. Look what happened with Justice Sheffield. James Paxton worked out 1 year, and then he was trashed the next with injuries. We could have really had Justice Sheffield and put him as one of the starters in the rotation. Look, that's what happened.
Look at the nobodies we've gotten to shine. Mike Talkman, Gio Urshela, Luke Voigt. They don't just magically appear to be very well. It's not always just about trading for all the top names. Sometimes that's not always the game plan. Look at the 90s. Derek Jeter, homegrown. Correct me if I'm wrong. Tino Martinez, homegrown. Andy Pettit, homegrown. So it's not always about trading for everybody. That's why I always hate it when people say, "Oh, the Yankees buy their championships." We clearly don't when you look at our past history. They're showing two right now on before we get to his point.
Vanderbilt.
Jack Leiter, nephew of Al Leiter, Yankee legend. 16 strikeout, no hitter. I'm impressed with him. My friend at work today had asked me, "You think the Yankees should get him?" I said he's not going to fall to us. I think he's going to Pittsburgh. Oh, he just got clocked in the face.
I don't think so.
I think he did.
Okay, so I do got something.
All right, Luca, how do you feel?
You know what? Let him talk.
I don't really think.
How do you feel about Corey Seager?
As much as he's a awesome player, I don't think we need him. I don't. I think we have enough firepower as it is.
Yeah, and what do you do with Gleyber Torres? What if he hit batter? Come on, we got to. Wilson needs to get this.
This stuff, I'd rather have Lucas Ludwig on the roster. He's been consistent, and somebody laughed at me. And somebody laughed at me for making the comment, Wilson's not going to get his spot taken by Lucas Ludwig. At this point, I would rather that, to be honest. So I do want to go into You were saying?
No, I was just going to say, Wilson clearly, you take the pitcher off the Mets, but you can't take the Mets out the pitcher.
True.
What was I going to say? So my next guest kind of deals with it, who just joined. But here's something, and Luca and Sean will know what I'm talking about and know because this relates to something going back to middle school. So, last night, Clapback Sports, shout outs to them, were making receipts because a lot of people were out there and, just saying, Giants are not going to get Kenny Galladay. They're only keeping, Leonard Williams. They're not going to get another free agent, whatever it may be. So, obviously, Clapback Sports on Twitter was exposing those people. I said shout outs to them. So, a couple hours later, one of the people they quoted was criticizing the Giants even for signing Galladay and trying to go after Jackson. I mean, he wasn't trying to criticize them, but it was, there's still criticism, still throwing criticism out there. So one of those guys, I'm going to show the quote in a moment, happened to be the producer of Divergent.
What?
So I'll get to that in a second. And I'm not afraid on Twitter. I mean, I'm aware of my surroundings. I'm not, I don't try to curse. I don't try to talk to people like they're a bunch of a-holes or anything. But I quoted this man, and I said, listen, just because...
We got an issue.
Oh, God.
Justin Wilson.
The trainer's out. Justin Wilson.
Come on. Does this shit ever end?
And that's it. Wilson's being taken out. I don't know what happened. I didn't notice anything.
Neither did I.
All right, let's see. They're showing a replay.
Real quickly before, obviously, I get back to my point, but let's see this.
Maybe it's an
something on the throw. Something on the pitch.
Yeah.
Maybe
something in his delivery didn't look right.
Yeah.
Could have been something in his shoulder, maybe.
He called the trainer out. This is going to be interesting. I mean, obviously, we don't have our TVs on because of copyright, but...
Not Nestor Cortez.
Yeah, lefty. Come on. Really? I'd rather put in Ludge, but I don't know how available he is. So anyway...
I hate about spring training is then you have to watch the crappy players like Tyler Wade.
Yeah, but I'd rather do that than not have a spring training at all, right, Sean?
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, going back to I quoted the man and I said, "Listen, just because you produce Divergent does not make you a football expert, sir." So he quotes Bill Parcells and says, "You are what your record says you are. What is the GM's record here?" I said, another GM, a Twitter GM we have us. Gettleman has made mistakes in the past with NYG, but has made up for it in the last two offseasons with Joe Judge. So please, feel free to tell me what you dislike in the past two offseasons. And obviously a lot of people, they don't disagree with the last two offseasons. It's more the first two offseasons. And I just keep going on and on with this guy. And he doesn't give me any moves. Of course he doesn't. Of course not. Why would he? And he just tells me the philosophy. You're not giving me moves, bud, so I don't know what you think is wrong with this franchise. So, he's talking about computer folks. I guess he wants to be more analytic, or at least he wants the Giants to be more analytic, which is, what are we going to turn to Doug Peterson here?
Yeah.
We saw how that ended, right, Giants fans and everybody else? And,
yeah.
He's had a Gettleman, last 2 years, he's been good. And as I said, going back to the stream with DJ Smoove, who came on, he's a Twitter clown, by the way. And we shaped him up. I don't know what he's saying on Twitter right now. I don't follow him anymore. But he came on the stream. And Sean remembers because I think he was watching at the time. If he wasn't, then I'll fill him in. He basically came on and said, Gettleman's a puppet. And he started talking all this trash on Gettleman. And then after that, me, Hub, and a lot of the other content creators on basically said, look, if we're going to give Gettleman the blame, why don't we give James Betcher and Pat Shurmur the same blame as well, 50-50? And then we finally, persuaded him against the Twitter GMs. So I do want to get okay, so it's still the top of the seventh. But I do want to get to somebody here. Starting out before, I haven't heard his thoughts on Galladay. I have not heard his thoughts on Dory Jackson. But I'm bringing on Greg Gullo, who Giants fan. He's also a Mets fan.
What's up?
So, obviously, very critical in the beginning based off the WhatsApp chat. But personally, what do you think of what has happened in the last 3 years?
I'm impressed. I've got to say that I'm impressed with Dave Gettleman. I like what he's doing, bringing in Galladay, and especially for the cap hit. I think he only has like a $4 million cap hit this year,
1.5, something like that.
like nothing. And I think bringing in Dory Jackson is a great deal. We need a second corner behind James Bradbury. I mean, look, things are starting to come together. I mean, look, I've been very critical of Dave Gettleman, and that's because from what I saw, and I been listening to you, like what you said just a few minutes ago, like those first 2 years, what I saw was like kind of like that outdated mentality, and I guess that's kind of like also on the owners too, on John Mara, where like going like the Giant way and doing all that stuff. I kind of felt like they weren't being like modernized for a while. But I feel like with the arrival of Joe Judge, I felt like he gave the Giants a new attitude. And especially what happened with Philly, like Dory Jackson didn't even like visit the Eagles. And that's because of their culture. And I remember having an argument with someone. I'm like, what happened with Doug Peterson is way worse than you really think it is, because free agents are not going to want to go to Philly because they believe it's a losing culture. Everyone laughed at me, but, you know, got a guy, Dory Jackson, for a first-round pick, a good player, and he just did not even bother with the Eagles, went straight to the Giants because the culture that Joe Judge established. So, I mean, I give Dave Gettleman a lot of flack. I go by the facts, and he has had a really good offseason. So up to this point, we got to see what he does in the draft. But for what he did this free agency, he's been great. I mean, getting Galladay for that amount of money in terms of cap hit is phenomenal, and they did a great job. I think Dave Gettleman's doing really good right now. So those are my thoughts on those two signings.
There's a quick thought. Phillies just bunted. Giants. Yankees should really take that back as a lost art. But what I'm going to say about that is I do agree with you. And obviously the first two off seasons, you know, the Giant way, even just, and Sean and Luca know it's not, you know, just me being fake on YouTube. I'm not fake. I tell the facts. I wanted Josh Allen in 2018. I say that about 100% of the time. I wanted Josh Allen. You know, how many people around me living in Pennsylvania, oh, you got to take Saquon Barkley. I'm like, no, we need a quarterback. Then my teacher says, what if there's a quarterback in next year's draft? And then obviously what happened is we drafted Daniel Jones. So obviously with that, I didn't expect to get Galladay. I thought we were going to, you know, a lot of the B reporters, and to be honest, once they signed Galladay and once they signed Rudolph, who's also a red zone target, I really like that signing. With that, I'm like, they can't be telling the truth about this cap. It's either the cap doesn't exist or they're not telling us the right numbers and the Giants are keeping it in-house. So again, I really liked what the Giants are doing in the last 2 years. And I don't remember the last time that you had players like Jabril Peppers, Darnay Holmes, and Logan Ryan recruiting this hard just to get somebody on the New York Giants.
That's the Joe Judge effect, and that's why, in my opinion, now I actually might write an article about this. In my opinion, Joe Judge is the most important coach in the NFL. That's a hot take. And when it comes to importance, I'm not saying he's the best because, once again, he only has been there for a year. But in terms of importance and turning around a franchise that has not won anything in almost a decade. Now, remember, it doesn't feel like it. It definitely doesn't feel like it to me. The Super Bowl 46 was almost 10 years ago. It's going to be 10 years later this year, which is crazy. That was the last time the Giants won a playoff game. So the fact that he's bringing back respectability to one of the most historic franchises in sports, he's the most important coach in the NFL today in terms of the effect he has on his team and in the culture. In my opinion, so far, that's just my opinion and what I have to say about that.
By the way, when I was pointing at the TV, that should have been a strike, but it's going to be a fly shortstop right here. Let me get to Potato's comment. What about ESPN? I heard they said we paid the top wide receiver in free agency too much, and we should have spent that money on the O-line. That was Dominique Foxworth. He's an actual idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Also, you know, Fox Sports also happens to be in the same clickbait area as ESPN. Because I looked this morning and I was expecting to get a good video. You know, Kenny Galladay signed with the Giants. Now they possibly get Dory Jackson, and Brandon Marshall obviously going, you know, like he knows the Giants by like the back of his hand. Yeah. Like, dude, you were a past his prime receiver. signed to a 2-year contract, 3-year contract, whatever it was, and then Dave Gettleman cut you, and you're acting like you know. You're acting like you know what the team is about.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sure, there's questions on the O-line, but, Evan Ingram, sure, but also you have to look at the good things as well. Kyle Rudolph, he's a red zone target, even though the last year or two, they didn't really use him as much because of Irv Smith. And then obviously some of the other guys on the offense with Darius Slayton, he's going to get moved over to the number 2 spot, so he won't be having, safety help on the defensive side. But just, Brandon Marshall, obviously, again, like Kim Jones, has a bias against the Giants, and in my opinion, because of, Gettleman cutting him and all. And same with Nick Wright. Nick Wright is an absolute idiot in that case. But another reason, and Greg pointed it out, he kind of put the nail on the head, is obviously what happened in Philly. You're not going to get free agents. With the way you're acting, with the way the franchise, took it that way, throw Nate Sudfeld in the game. Yeah. You're saying?
And their salary cap. And their salary cap situation is bad.
If you have no money, you're not going to do anything. So, that's why I sincerely believe that they're the bottom of the barrel in the NFC East. And I think Washington, and I think if we improve on the offensive line, I think we're up there, possibly winning the division this year. I'm sorry, I'm kind of bold with that one, but I'm also kind of the truth, because I don't expect. And one of the first things Jordan said in that chat was, Dallas is doing better than us. This was before the Galladay signing. It's before that stuff. Dallas is doing better than us. And my thing is, they were 1-3 before Dak's injury, so we totally don't know. Yes, they signed Keanu Neal, but they need secondary help because Chidobe Awuzie walked to the Bengals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you think of the Adoree Jackson signing? I know it's 3 years, $39 million. Do you think it was an overpay? What do you think of just the general signing?
I think it was, a decent deal. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but I wouldn't say it's horrible either, because you also have to watch a lot of the Giants games to know that they really needed a corner to help out Bradbury, especially the game against the Cleveland Browns. If you watch that game, and because Bradbury was out because of COVID reasons, and if you watch Isaac Needham being the number 1 corner, it was an absolute disaster. And so they really needed a guy to complement Bradbury. And so I think, the contract isn't the greatest. It's not the worst. But I think they had to get a guy like Jackson because you need a guy to complement Bradbury. It's very important to get that second corner, because if you watch the Giants last year, other than Bradbury, a lot of guys on the cornerback position struggled. They did. Isaac Edom being one of them. I mean, he was awful. And he went up against guys like Jarvis Landry, who is, not an elite receiver, but probably the category right below elite. But he's still a very capable veteran receiver, and he just couldn't handle him. And so you need a guy that can handle guys like Jarvis Landry, especially being in the NFC East, because and I'm going to get to my next point in a sec about the Cowboys. And what Stephen A. Smith said, because it really made me angry. But the Cowboys, they do have some nice receivers. They got Cooper, Gallup. Even with Washington, you got Terry McLaurin. So you need guys to cover those level of receivers. So it's very important for the Giants to make this signing. Now, my next point with Stephen A. Smith, he angered me when he said that, listen, Max Kellerman isn't the greatest sports mind. I want Iguodala. Tom Brady's going to fall off a cliff. All that stuff is clownery.
Especially a Drew Brees statement.
Yeah. I think what ESPN is doing is that ESPN is a network on the downturn. And I feel like First Take is their only that holds them together. So they come up with these takes. And, I know Stephen A. Smith is a meme, but his sports takes are just awful now. He said that the Cowboys have a better chance to win the NFC East than the Giants or Washington. I think that's ridiculous. The Washington and the Giants are the 2 best teams in the NFC East. The Eagles are a disaster. Who are not doing anything this year. And the Cowboys, I feel Dak's coming back from an injury, and he played tremendous in those games that he played. But we don't know how he's going to come back. Came off a major injury. We don't know. I think he's going to come back really good. I think he's going to come back great, actually. But you still don't know. How can you say they're winning the NFC East when you have Washington, who has one of the brightest defenses in football, and with a great head coach, Ron Rivera, and the Giants, who are building something new with Joe Judge? How can you say the Cowboys, who defense was historically atrocious last year? They were awful last year, that defense. And who do they really add? They added Keanu Neal, and they lost Awuzie. So
Keanu Neal, I don't mean to interrupt you, but Keanu Neal has had 2 ACL injuries in the last 3 years. Is that really an addition?
But it doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make sense why he said that. It blows my mind that this guy's getting paid millions of dollars every year by ESPN to say stuff like that. You just don't know anything about the sport. I'm sorry if you don't say that the Washington football team and the New York Giants are the best 2 teams in the NFC East. And it's going to be a battle between Washington, because Washington's a very good team. They're a quarterback away from being a dangerous team. If they draft a really good quarterback in this upcoming draft, they can be good. They can be a team to watch out for. But also the Giants too. With Joe Judge at the helm, and Jones finally has a number 1 receiver. He's getting Barkley back, and second year in this offense under Jason Garrett. We got to wait and see what happens. It's going to be interesting. But the Eagles and the Cowboys, unless the Eagles pull off a miracle run, more of a miracle than Super Bowl 52, they're not doing anything. And with the Cowboys, unless their defense is a complete 180, they're not doing anything this year. So it's between Washington and the Giants, and I have no idea why Stephen A. Smith just went down to that level of just clownery. That's the best word I can really find that.
I do want to make a quick point, because I know Luke has some Giants news. Potato says, why is MLB not using the electronic square strike zone? They have
that
in
the
minor leagues. About Stephen A. Smith, and a lot of people have come about the topic of ESPN. Urinating Tree, for example, he covered a video, with it. The podcast, the YouTube platforms, they are growing tremendously, because people are just tired of just seeing the same old crap on TV, whether it be the clickbait, the takes that don't make sense. Stephen A. Smith, I rarely see him defend the Cowboys as much as funny as I have to say about it, but he's entertaining, but he doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, Kellerman's not entertaining. The other day he was complaining, Dave Gettleman, he's complaining about him, but obviously he wasn't using the correct points. I know Luca wants to say something here. Just give me 1 second. But, just because you're entertaining doesn't mean it makes sense. Washington, they're a quarterback, and I believe an offensive line away from actually being competitive and actually winning taking it from us. And they're also a linebacker away. But for the Giants, offensive line, and probably I don't know what else, to be honest with you, because I think the Giants are almost complete in terms of just being as a whole team. Luca, what do you got in Giants news?
Well,
Potato's got something interesting to say.
Yeah, totally. Well, NFL broadcasters, the Giants are a finalist for guard Try Turner.
Ooh.
He didn't play, and, obviously I'm not going to judge anyone based off 1 year. He's, my opinion, to be honest, if it's cheap, I would like that signing. Because what I really wanted this free agency, and my target was Matt Filer from the Steelers. Sorry, Sean. But I think in that case, it would probably do a 180 or something like that, or something, because Matt Filer goes to the Chargers from the Steelers, and then obviously one of their guards comes to the Giants. If Try Turner gets signed, he has the Gettleman connection, and he didn't really play last year a lot, and he didn't play well in those opportunities and in those snaps. But if he's a solid guard that holds it down at least till Shane Lemieux fully develops, or at least if the Giants are going to place Will Hernandez, or if at least, so someone develops as a guard, because I think we're set at tackle. I think we're set at center. But guard, and that's going to be an error. But at guard, I'm not so convinced yet. I like Shane Lemieux. I like Will Hernandez. I'm not convinced. Sorry, just not convinced. And I know Will Hernandez in one of his workout videos was practicing right guard. I mean, Joe Judge is big about cross-training guys. but I'm not sold that Will Hernandez is, the guy. Well, I am, but at the same time, I don't think the coaching staff is sold. And I think they really love Lemieux at left guard. So, and obviously cutting Zeitler was, key because of the cap space and also the veteran leadership as a guard. So rolling into the season with Hernandez and Lemieux as the guards is pretty, in my opinion, scary. And you want to put the best situation out there for Daniel Jones.
Yeah. If they sidetrack Turner to like a cheap deal, relatively cheap, I think it would be good. They just got to make sure they don't overpay because I think I agree with you 100%. I just don't think that, a Will Hernandez, Shane Lemieux guard combo is really reliable. I think they need that veteran presence on the offensive line. Because let's not forget, the Giants' offensive line is very young. You got Andrew Thomas, Matt Pert. Cameron Fleming hasn't been signed yet, but I know he's a free agent, and they're not going to re-sign him. And Gates as the center. And, yeah, you got Lemieux and Hernandez. And it's very young guys, and I feel like they just need that veteran leadership on that O-line because it's such a young and raw group. Because I think as we've seen in the NFL, even with the Giants last year, even with Kevin Zeitler, they went through a lot of growing pains, Giants O-line, in the beginning of the season. Now, especially Andrew Thomas. He went through a lot of growing pains early in the beginning of the season. It's very difficult to be selected for number 4 overall and to step in right away and be the left tackle for the New York Football Giants. It's a ton of pressure, and left tackle is one of the most difficult positions in sports. It's very difficult. So I think he adjusted nicely. I'm actually excited to see what Andrew Thomas has to bring to the table next year. But I think that, signing Try Turner on like a 1, maybe 2-year deal would be really, really good for the Giants, and I think it would pay dividends just to get that veteran leadership in that group so they could develop better.
Definitely agree with you there. To be honest with you, and obviously BPA is still an option in this draft.
Hey, bro.
Center.
Oh, that's a okay.
And that's caught. That's a nice play. Defensively, that's the final outs, which means
nice catch.
But I definitely agree with you there. To be honest, though, one of my favorite guys in this draft, and I haven't, watched film like all the other guys have, but Wyatt Davis is one of my favorite prospects in this draft. And I definitely, if the Giants, if Wyatt Davis would have fallen to 42, I would take him. If we had not signed Kyle Rudolph, I would take Pat Freiermuth with the 43rd or 42nd overall pick, whatever we have. And also, just to add on to it, the Giants being in a BPA situation, best player available situation, after a 6-10 season, that's got to be pretty good. With, and even, again, with, the limited cap space supposedly that they had this offseason, getting as many needs filled as possible, having the depth, great situation going into next year, and I honestly really like it. What do you have to say on the Mets? Because I know you're a Mets fan. What do you have to say on the Mets so far just through spring training?
I mean, obviously this is the most excited I've been for them as a fan. I mean, I've been a Mets fan my entire life, but I didn't really start following them until like 2015. I mean, that's when I really became a sports fan. I didn't start following the Giants until 2015 as well. So, I mean, this is the most excited I've been for them. Even after the year they won the pennant, it's been unbelievable, just the culture change. And I know I've been on here before and I talked about the culture change, and that's what's most important about the last offseason was Steve Cohen buying the team. And it wasn't just, getting Lindor and Carrasco and McCann and May and all these different guys. That's amazing. But to me, the most important thing about Steve Cohen buying the Mets was not the money or the budget or even getting rid of the awful Wilpons. It was changing the reputation of the New York Mets as a team that was going to dig deep and spend and invest in creating a competent baseball team. And that was lacking from the previous ownership. And, the Mets, obviously, throughout history, were known as the lovable losers. I know that's the Cubs nickname before they won the World Series. But in New York, that's what the Mets were known for. We were the joke, the gold standard. They were like, the professionals, the white
The
collar
World
base.
Series or bust team.
What's up?
Pretty much World Series or bust for us.
Exactly. Like the Yankees, I was hearing you guys when I was in the waiting room, like you guys like, oh, we didn't win the World Series. I'm like, if as a Mets fan, like pre-Steve Cohen era, making it to the division series was like a successful season. Before Steve Cohen, like if the Mets made it to the division series and let's say they would lose to like in 5 games to like the Dodgers or something, I would be happy. But yeah, that's great. I mean, that's not that bad of a season. But I think that's also the problem too. Yankee fans have that expectation where they want to win a World Series every year, as you should. You should. Fans of a certain organization should have those expectations, and they shouldn't have to settle. I hate settling. I think just with life in general, you shouldn't settle at all. So I think that's what's so important about Steve Cohen and why he matters so much is bringing respectability to the Mets franchise and the Mets name and the Mets brand. Now, with Lindor, I think that's like the biggest thing is like him signing a contract extension. He's asking for a little too much money. Listen, he's a superstar.
I agree.
He's a top 5 shortstop in baseball. But he's asking for Trout Betts money. And the Mets just don't have that right now.
Yeah.
To stay under the luxury tax. We still have to re-sign Conforto. We still have to re-sign Syndergaard. We still have to re-sign Stroman. And then even in the coming years, we got to re-sign McNeil, Dom Smith, Alonso, Nimmo. All those guys got to be re-signed. And if we re-sign Lindor to way too much money, we're going to be over the luxury tax and we're going to be in a little bit of trouble here. Even Steve Cohen runs out of money eventually. So I think that it should be a priority to get a Lindor extension done before the season starts because he said he doesn't want to negotiate during the season. But, if they can't get to a deal, it is what it is, and you deal with it after the season's over. But, I mean, you don't make that trade like that to get a guy like Lindor for a year. You're going to re-sign him for the long term if you're going to trade like your Rosario and Gimenez for Lindor and Carrasco. You don't that's not a 1-year rental. The Mets are trying to play the long game here, and they're trying to pull off a very similar trade to the Betts Price deal with the Dodgers pulled off because they're very similar. The Dodgers trade for Betts and they throw in a starting pitcher, and the Mets trade for Lindor, and the Indians throw in a starting pitcher. So they're very similar deals, and there's actually a YouTube video that kind of relates the two in a way, the two paths that the Mets and Dodgers took with their owners.
Going down.
Yeah.
Oh, we got him at third. I'm sorry. I apologize for interrupting.
No, don't worry about it. So I think with the Mets, I'm excited. It's very promising. I haven't been this excited for them ever, I think. And I haven't been this excited for one of my sports teams that I follow probably since 2017 with the Giants. I got to be honest with you, like during the offseason, I'm just buzzing with excitement. I'm excited. And that's what really is. It's hope. And even like guys like Edwin Diaz, who were atrocious in 2019. I mean, I've seen things like you guys don't understand. I know you guys are Yankee fans, but like what this guy would do, him and Familia, it would be like you couldn't make it up. Like some of the stuff that they would do in games, it was just like you couldn't even do in a video game. You couldn't make it up in your head. It was ridiculous. Edwin Diaz, two games that come to mind. In May, the Mets are playing the Dodgers in LA, and they're beating them. They're doing a great job. 9th inning, I think they were up either 8-4, 8-5. They blew it. I remember the next morning waking up because obviously here in New York, those games started at 10 p.m. and I fell asleep.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. And the game, one of the worst games I ever watched as a sports fan was the Mets versus Nationals in September 2019. The Mets were up 24. They had a 99.99% chance of winning that game, and they lost. I just, as a person, as an individual, I don't know how you come back from that. Like Edwin Diaz, like the comeback story, I think so far in spring training and what he did in 2020. I think 2020 was a building block, and what he's showing in spring training is remarkable because you had to watch this guy to know how bad he was. Because I know, like, Edluz Diaz, he's a meme, he's a joke. No. He was way worse than that. Every time you put him in, he was just he couldn't do it. He couldn't stop a water leak, this guy. He went from one of baseball's best closers to the absolute worst. Not one of the worst, to the worst. And of course, we had Mickey Callaway, which, he made the news for, unwanted reasons, but we're not going to get into that here. But he's an awful manager, that guy. He just did not have a feel for the game, and he would put Diaz in or leave him in there when he should not have been in there. And that's a problem. You got to have a manager that's good feel for the game. You have to. That is one of the main keys to winning baseball games and winning World Series. If you look at the team like the Rays, like, they're not the most talented teams, but they're probably the most well-run teams. And I know you guys Yankee fans could say that. I mean, they are a well-oiled machine because they know where to put guys and lineups and matchups and stuff. And, Mickey was just not that guy. He did not have a feel. So, with Luis Rojas, I hope that he's better. I mean, it's too much of a small sample size. He made some questionable decisions last year, but it's only a 60-game season. But it's going to be interesting to see that, Steve Cohen and Stan Yelderson didn't bring in their own guy. But, I mean, overall, on the Mets, I'm excited. That's really and hopeful. For the first time as a Mets fan, I am genuinely hopeful for the future. And then we actually have real World Series expectations in the next 5 years.
I do have something to pull up, and this is actually – I'll let you go, Sean.
Let me ask you this. Obviously, the Mets are improving. They now look like a true New York City team. They don't look like a small market team anymore. How do you think they fare in such a stacked division? You got the Phillies, always a threat. They always seem to screw it up somehow, but I still think they could be a threat. You got the Nationals, who I think will eventually bounce back this year. You got the Braves, who are the obvious favorites to win the NL East, and even the Marlins. They were sleepers last year, came out of nowhere and made the playoffs. So how do you think the Mets fare in such a stacked division?
Yeah. Listen, I've tried making predictions. I've talked to friends. I've talked to people that I talk baseball with all the time. The Mets and Braves, they're going to be it's between those two because I think the NL East is one of the best divisions in baseball. Even, in my opinion, the worst team in that division, the Miami Marlins, they're not a bad team. They're not bad at all. I like what they're doing down there in Miami.
So do I.
I mean, like the Marlins, I just don't think they're going to be able to compete. The Nationals, they got great pitching. They have Juan Soto, who a lot of people are saying he's going to be in the MVP conversation this year. I mean, he's a phenomenal player, really great player. I just don't think they have enough firepower, though. The Phillies, the back end of the rotation is not good at all. I just think it's going to be between the Braves and the Mets. And I think it's going to be a toss-up. But as a Mets, being realistic, I got to say, like, the Braves for now because they just have more experience. They've been there before, in the NLCS. They were a game away from the World Series last year. And they've consistently been winning since 2018. The Mets have to show me that they can compete with them because the Braves have our number. They kill the Mets every single year. Every single year. The Mets find a way to lose to the Braves every year. So I think the Mets have to prove to me that they can win. They have to prove to me that they could beat the Braves. And that's not going to be proven until the season starts, in my opinion. So if I were to, I can't really say to be truly honest, I can't say anything honestly. But if you point a gun to my head and say like who's going to win the NL East, I would say the Atlanta Braves as of now.
Okay.
I do have one point to bring up. I also want to get to Tudo Azzurri, who lives in Italy. It's about time for Alex to come to Lynn and have a great Italian and ice cold Peronis and watch ball games. Pisano, forget about it. I would definitely love to go to Italy at some point during my life.
I would too.
Something concerning, and this is not concerning for Luca. It's not concerning for Sean, and this is just one situation, but this won't come up probably. Again, this is one situation, but it's like laid low because this is a Titans fan. And I asked earlier, I think it was yesterday, I said, listen, and I also shouted the guy out, one of the guys who gave me opinions on Adoree Jackson. And I said, shout out to Titan fan base or whatever his name was on Twitter, for giving me the opinion and stuff like that on Adoree Jackson. So this guy actually just replied to me, and, shout outs to him because obviously I'm open to all opinions, if he's bad, if he's good, or, what your view is, because Titan fans know best besides the film and the stats and the geeks. So anyway, this is very concerning in my opinion. I mean, it is, but just let's read this. Played great in 19 minus getting burnt by TY every time they played. He has speed, but I question his tackling and his drive. At a game at Nashville, brutally hot, young kids were asking for autographs. He screamed, "I'm hot," and left them signature lists. Says a lot about him. I honestly, listen.
I wouldn't like that.
Honestly, I really don't, to be honest with you. That's, I hope to be proven wrong, but that has to be.
There's one rule you have as an athlete, and I can even date this back a couple years ago. You guys aren't going to know this because I don't think I know most of you. I can't speak for Greg, but I know you guys aren't big NASCAR people. But several years ago, I want to say 2015 or 16, there was a lot of controversy because Danica Patrick, she refused to give fans autographs, and she was getting booed. She criticized the fans, yelling at them to their face. Kyle Petty went on NBCSN afterwards for, their talk show saying it is your job, because Danica Patrick, her main point was, it's not my job to sign autographs. My job is to drive the cars. No, that's not true. Yes, your job is to drive the cars, but it is also your job to sign autographs because in the end, they're the ones that pay your bills. Exactly. So I feel, look at it this way. If you're a little kid, how you let's say you get one of your favorite players to sign a baseball, a football, whatever. That creates dreams for kids. That's the kids. That's the main reason to sign their stuff, because you can make a kid's life like that. So that's where I take issue with it, because in the end, it's the fans paying your bills. So they at least deserve the respect.
I agree with you 100%. I think that also, I think I agree with you that it's part of the job, being a professional filmmaker, actor, actress, a professional sports player, or you play. You have to interact with the fans and, sign autographs. It's a part of the job. It's a part of the job. I was gonna say something. I was gonna say, so I'll let Alex go and I'll try to remember it.
Tudo says, I totally believe Giants have a young and talented team. All they need is a few adjustments, tweaks, better improved schemes, training, and preparations.
I like the reference Potato brought up. I've seen that video. That video is hilarious. Basically, urinating tree refers to Danica Patrick as the blue screen of death. If you guys get a chance, watch that video. It's pretty funny.
I actually have.
I watched it. Yeah, it's hilarious. He's great.
I love UT. He's hilarious.
Going back to this, I mean, I'm not going to judge a player. I mean, I'll take it into account, but you can't do this stuff. I mean, I know there was an incident. This was actually recorded live by one of my favorite YouTubers, though I have some kind of, not problems with him. I just have some issues the way he did his channel and stuff, learning from other content creators, what happened in different situations. But Ron Effect went live it was 2019 during Giants training camp. And he always used to do this. I wasn't there that day. I did meet him. He gave me tickets and I did meet him, but it was like a couple of days after. Dexter Lawrence and a fan had some incident like that. And I don't know what specifically happened, But I think a kid was like getting out of control or something, and then Dexter Lawrence kind of snubbed him or something like that. I don't remember. Ron Effect deleted all of his videos, so I can't really reference that. But I remember something happened with Dexter Lawrence. But obviously, 2 years later, he's worked out for us. But this, and let me go to his second tweet. And I said I don't like that, honestly. He goes, I like the pick when we took him, wanted Lattimore, but he was great in college, had some amazing plays, and then shift. I think he is motivated. You have quite a tandem in New York. If he got his bread and he's comfortable, I don't know. Talent, top notch for sure. Cornerback too all day. But once again, fans pay your bills. Let me prep this up for the top of the ninth. The fans pay your bills. And same thing with the broadcasters, honestly. I mean, it's different, but it's similar because, some of these guys, and I'm going to be honest with you, Sean has probably heard me do this. Michael Kay and Peter Rosenberg are like, oh, the virtual draft was fine this year. What do you say? I don't like the fans screaming, in Nashville and all those. I'm like, you know what? I get your point, but at the same time, they're fans,
Yeah,
and
fans are going to do what fans want to do.
Exactly. And going back to, what happened, I think it was like a couple of days ago when, what was I going to say? It was the Knicks and Nets thing. I think it was the day or the day after or whatever. They got robbed by the referees, in my opinion, at least. And they're like, this the Knicks own New York thing is kind of getting old. That's a fan saying. And, it's between those fans. And I'm not saying you can't intervene, but like Knicks fans are finally prideful about their team. They're finally there. They're finally above 500 or at least trying to get there. And then you're going to sit there here and criticize those fans for being happy. Is just like, you know what, dude? You don't pay the tickets. And I said this how many months ago? One of my first episodes on the podcast. They were talking about how Joe Judge was being similar. And basically the thing about he was, he was not calling out Daniel Jones or Saquon Barkley by name. And they were criticizing him for him. Like, you know what? Whichever way this goes, you're not paying the tickets to go to the stadium. You're not a season ticket holder. You're not necessarily a fan. You're just commentating on it. And Don is a Giants fan, and I get that. Well, actually, no, it wasn't him criticizing it. But I think it was Michael Kay, it was Bart Scott. I don't necessarily consider them fans. I mean, Bart Scott was a player, and Michael Kay, he's been a journalist, a broadcaster his whole life. So with that, I say, the fans for the past how many years have been suffering. Whether it not be to the Jets extent, whether it not be to a Mets extent, whatever. They've been suffering because this team hasn't been putting a winning team on the field, and you're going to criticize, the kind of just, they could criticize them and try to speak for the fans. No, these guys at the time, the fans were excited. Finally we have some structure. So that's kind of what I took issue with that. And again, with the Adoree Jackson thing, that kind of turns me the wrong way. The contract was one thing, but your character towards fans, just because you're hot, really? I mean, once again, like Sean said, you make kids' lives out of this, dreams, stuff like that. Sometimes situations like that can turn off a kid and say, nah, I don't want to play football anymore. Yeah. Maybe that, you don't understand like that. I forget who was trying to talk, but go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, too, fans also, you can say, create a lot of energy for events, create rivalries like you mentioned before, Knicks and Nets. Without the fans, does anybody care about the Knicks versus the Nets? Probably not. But the people of New York care. My team, the Steelers, when we play the Eagles, we're not literal rivals, but they play in the same state. The fans make that rivalry. Yankees, Mets. Now, obviously, you could say there's a little bit more history behind it because the World Series, but, the fans drive a lot of what happens in sports. They drive some of their rivalries, so you can also say they have that impact.
I think Adoree Jackson should go back and watch the movie The Incredibles and see what happens when you deny a fan. Because
I like that. I like that
syndrome, and he can create a robot and take over the world. That is such a great
movie right there. Childhood movie right there.
I mean, but I think it was trying to drive home like the theme of, when you idolize someone, and it's very easy to. I mean, if you want to be in a certain craft, like let's say like where we're talking about now, like a professional football player, right? And I think that's why Eli Manning is such a special guy and a special player. And why I think he was very underappreciated. And I think that we're not going to know how much of a special player he was until years down the line, because a lot of players now feel like they're just more entitled, and guys like Manning, Derek Jeter, David Wright, Henrik Lundqvist, they actually gave back to their communities and they helped other people.
Exactly.
They were leaders, they were captains, they took initiatives, and they helped out the city of New York and the people that, I don't know, paid their paychecks, No, but they didn't feel like that. They felt like it was it was an honor. They were honored to play in New York. So I think that is missing, and I feel like Eli Manning was one of the last of his kind.
Well, you can make the argument too. That's why I respect Juju Smith-Schuster so much. Everybody can talk about the TikToks and all this on-field stuff, but he has given back to his community, and that's why I respect him so much, because he is that guy that will go the extra distance to make a fan, create a fan for life. And that's why I'll respectfully disagree. I'll say Juju is one of those players that I think has carried that on, I guess you could say, because, again, he's done so much good, but it feels like it's just been kind of overthrown by the TikToks and, the on-field play, stuff like that. But that's why I personally love Juju Smith-Schuster, because of the off-field stuff. He interacts with his fans, even if it's through like Fortnite or Madden or whatever. So that's just my take on that.
As much as I dislike OBJ, that was one thing that he did right in New York: connect with the fans.
Yeah,
every time.
Exactly.
I actually have a story. Like, I actually met Henrik Lundqvist last January before COVID. They had like a meet and greet in I Play America and in Jersey, and I got it for Christmas. And so I brought him over. It was a great experience. So, like, I'm going online, I'm ready to take a picture with him, and I'm like nervous as hell. I'm like thinking, like, what am I gonna say to him? And at that time, I was starting my own YouTube channel. So I asked the guy, I'm like, yo, Hank, can you like subscribe to my YouTube channel? And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And I just realized, like, he's definitely not gonna do it. And I was like crushed, like, and I felt like I was a retard. I'm like, I'm next to like a Hall of Famer, and like that's the thing I'm gonna ask him. I felt like I felt so dumb, but like I know exactly what it feels like. But after a while, like it's actually hilarious. But that's what it feels like to a certain extent. But Hank, like, he was awesome, like very kind. He was a gentleman, just very good with the people. And there were a lot of people there that weren't rowdy, I'd say, but like they did like a Q&A session, and like one lady asked him about like very personal questions, like about his marriage, and I'm like, you don't like why? First of all, why does that matter? Second of all, why are you here? Third of all, why you can ask like such a personal question in this? Like, I think that's like stupid. It's dumb. Like, I don't understand like why are you asking such a personal question? Like, it's unnecessary. But I handled it very well like that, and as a professional, whatever you do, it's your job to kind of like, either shrug it off, laugh it off, and just handle it like a gentleman and a professional.
No.
Let's see.
Yankees are going to the bottom of the ninth right now. They're still trail 4-0. Tomorrow the game must be on MLB. Go ahead, Luca.
Funny is, I'll let Luca talk.
I kind of have a little insight on the Wilson injury. It seems he was throwing 3 miles an hour less than his last few appearances.
Yeah, well, this sounds like an arm injury or something then. Yeah. So I guess we'll see what happens there.
I actually missed Justin Wilson. My bad.
I want 2015 Wilson back. That's what I want back. I want 2015 Justin Wilson. Right now, I don't like this Justin Wilson. Right now, I agree with Alex. I want Lucas Gletke right now.
Honestly, I mean, this guy hasn't played in the big league since 2015, 2017, and, he's pitching better than friggin' Justin Wilson. I mean, I just find it amazing. I always forgot what I was going to say. The Hub actually DM'd me and said, "You want to pop on the channel?" I said, "Listen, man, if you're still done, if you're still going by the time this ends, I'll definitely pop on with you. But obviously, thanks for the invite, guys. If you haven't already, check out the Hub's channel also as well. The live stream from what was it, Saturday night? That was the second most viewed video on the channel, live stream on the channel, because the first time we actually did, and one of these live streams, one of these podcast episodes that are live, me, Sean, and Luca, and I have, just something to go over. I want to go over how many predictions we actually got right in terms of the records from the NFL last year. Remember that video? They got like 700 views, 800 views. I want to go over that maybe like next week or the week after.
Yeah, why not? We'll make that next week's topic.
Yeah, well, we probably got like 10% correct.
I like Potato's comment.
And it was so funny. The other night.
That was too funny.
He must know
Case
about
of women on
the
Twitter.
live stream.
Oh, God.
Yeah, Potato. For anyone who knows, and I'm not making fun of him, but he usually comes up when you follow somebody on Twitter. You could see what they like. In the Hub, he likes a lot of of things.
X-rated stuff. We'll leave it that way.
Real quickly, Tudo says we've got everything we ever wanted as far as offensive weapons. We still have huge holes on the O-line. Giants' O-line has been non-existent the last 9 years, ranked 31st. I don't think they were ranked 31st last year. I think they were ranked in the bottom 20s, I want to say. I don't remember. I don't know, there's different rankings out there. But in my opinion, just the interior, the guard position, the tackle position, you're fine in. That's at least in my opinion. Going back to the Hub, I mean, the other night, it was funny. I didn't really expect it, but Kid Blue, shout outs to him. He pulled up. Oh, Greg left. That was none of my doing.
He might have had some connection issues. We'll see if he tries to pop back in.
Yeah. Hell was I going to say? Oh, man. Okay. So Kid Blue basically said, I got something to pull up on Twitter. So what he does is he shares his screen with me, and it's starting to rain, I think, because I see the fogginess.
That's rain. I mean, in the bottom of the ninth anyway, so better hope the Yankees rally doesn't take too long. Watch them get screwed over, about to win the game. Rain delay, game's over.
Or they just call, again, I keep going back to that friggin' 20
This is a guy you like, Chris. This is like I
honestly think he's underrated. I honestly think he's underrated.
I like him. He hit that bomb the one game we were watching.
The Grand Slam.
I like him. Yeah, against Detroit. Tomorrow's game is going to be on MLB Network against Detroit, too. So you guys will be able to watch. I'll be working, so I won't see that.
You're saying, Luca?
I said, I'm going to say we have yet to go over everyone's free agency with the winners and losers.
No, I know. No. No, we didn't do that earlier. Actually, what was I going to say? We have yet to do that, actually, after this game. And it's not like I'm going into free agency and that stuff uneducated. I actually wrote some stuff down, the key moves and stuff. Sean's not going to like where the Steelers are at, but at this point, I really don't give a flying rat's ass.
I don't think the Steelers have done well, so whatever.
I mean, they have limited cap space. Anyway.
Yeah, we can't. Again, it's like Alex was saying, you can't. Oh my God, it really is raining. You can't really build out of free agency. Free agency isn't everything. The Steelers have always just been kind of more organic and built through the draft every year. How do you explain guys like Antonio Brown and
Juju.
Guys like them, Juju? They develop through the draft, so it is what it is there.
Yeah.
Still a 1-2 count, bottom of the ninth. Grand Theft Auto Los Santos is pitching for the Phillies. I like that last name.
G-Man Reviews, which is basically Greg. Hey, guys, it's Greg. I'm currently having connection issues, but I had a ball on the show tonight. I'll try to hop back on, but if I don't, I'll catch you guys next time. Obviously, I do have something to bring up that just generally the three of us. I guess we could. It's not that private, so we can go on a stream. I will be in Pennsylvania next week on Monday, me and Luca. So any chance? Are we still gonna do it from Pennsylvania, or are we moving this to a Wednesday? As I said, I'm just scoping out.
I mean, is that the Monday when we're going to be hanging out?
Yeah.
We could still. I mean, let's see what time we get back. If we get home really late, which I don't think we will, because there's no lights at that field. So, because we're going to a baseball field, not too far from here. Hopefully everything's still dried up, but no more rain.
I'm visiting this redneck over here.
Really funny.
So,
Luca, shut up! You're supposed to agree with me. This is the part where you're supposed to agree with me. My God.
Well, I don't agree with you. This is bullying.
Good.
The bullying, really?
John's taking it personal.
Me and Luca are the AFC gang, so whatever. He went down. Gittins went down. Stop promoting the Nets. We don't care about the Nets. And good way no one does.
See, it's funny because they're promoting the Nets on Sean's but they don't show the Nets where Sean lives.
Yeah. Okay. So let me explain why. Because I know my father knows someone from like a cable company that kind of answered that question. So up here, it's primarily all Sixers fans. Occasionally, you'll find Knicks fans. I know like two Nets fans up here. So because of the lack of Nets fans, they won't show it. They won't show Nets games. They'll show pre and post game, but they won't show the game itself. They'll put on like some crappy FS1 program or something. It's really dumb. But anyway, Tommy Malone is up to the plate. 0-1 count, bottom of the ninth. We're really missing out though. We don't get to hear John Sterling. That's one bummer about doing these live streams.
So
YouTube and copyright and all that nonsense. When this game does end, I gotta step away for a minute. So
all right, no problem.
Because
what was I gonna say? I actually might want to step away for a minute as well because I am kind of thirsty / hungry. That's always me, by the way, guys. I'm always hungry. I'm always thirsty, even though I'm like 140 pounds soaking wet. What was I gonna say?
Pitch isn't even in the strike zone.
This guy commented on my latest video. Front loading if he gets hurt isn't the worst idea. Yeah, these contracts are foggy at best to figure out. Don't listen to the other fan bases too much. Tom with the Packers channel said Martinez was a useless run stuffer, and I believed him. Not doing that again. His first 2 years were amazing. Could cover Tyreek Hill very well. I looked at some film breakdown of it. But year 3, he sprained his ankle. In year 4, he sprained his knee. Nothing long-term. First 2 years, he played every single game, which is good. An outside grade from like 89 of PFF, 8th best in the NFL. Good enough for our number 2. And I completely understand your worries and feel the same, but I don't question his abilities. More just unlikely healthy. I don't refer to PFF respectfully to John Doe. I don't refer to PFF because I think they're an actual joke to the NFL. I think they're an embarrassment to anything called analytics.
What are you talking about, Alex? They provide great stuff.
Yeah, clearly.
Clearly, right? We do have a guest in the studio, but I will let him in probably after the game ends because I do have to run to get something.
That's the end of the game. Alex, can I go first? I really need to use the bathroom, so. And then when I come back, you can head out for a sec.
I was going to provide some clarity on something.
Sure.
Okay. I will be back.
Justin Wilson left tonight's game with a left shoulder injury.
Nice.
And
I called that.
Just what we need. Just what we need.
Yeah.
Let me shut this stuff off down here. Giants O-line was ranked 31st.
I want to know who they were ranked 31st by, though.
They were ranked 31st on offense. I don't know about the offensive line, to be honest, but I guess maybe in terms of sacks, because what happened was Eagles gave up the most sacks, and then afterwards was the Giants, and I think the Washington football team was actually up there. A lot of people are missing that offensive line. Someone actually disliked my last video, which I haven't gotten actually in about a couple of months. But that, doesn't matter. I mean, it does, but, I'm not
Must be a
clickbait creative.
cliche.
It's probably not a disrespect, but it's like a respectful disagreement, and I really don't have a problem with that. Another day where it sucks to be an Eagles fan. I'm bringing that off Twitter. I'm going to say Yankees.
I am back.
All right, give me 1 second. I just want to promote something, and then I'm going to go upstairs real quick, and you guys can talk about what you can talk about. Obviously, I'll let the one person in after I, come back.
Okay. I switched it over now. I'm watching the Dodgers Mariners on MLB Network. That game just got started. Trevor Bauer's actually pitching, no score. Bottom of the first in I was about to say in Seattle, in Peoria. Actually, I didn't even think about that too. With opening day 10 days away, they're going to start playing in MLB Stadium soon. Because you know how they like to do that in the spring. One thing that sucked about what happened last year was the Yankees were actually supposed to play up in Montreal for 2 exhibition games against the Blue Jays, but that got taken away, and that I was I was actually really looking forward to that. I'm not even gonna lie. I know it's only spring training, but that was a big bummer. But yeah, like Sunday, I believe the Angels and Dodgers are going to be playing in Los Angeles. I know the Giants and the Athletics said they won't be doing their traditional series Battle of the Bay in California for the end of spring training. Don't worry, still playing the regular season, just not in the end of spring training in their respective.
Disappear or something.
What's that?
Oh yeah, you're there. I'm gonna be right back, guys. Obviously, talk about. I mean, our next topic probably gonna be NFL free agency or something like that. So if you guys want to chat on that, that's fine. If you want to chat on something else, that's fine. I'll be back in about 2 minutes ish.
Okay. Luca, I got something for you. Did you get a chance to watch yesterday's race at all?
I watched the end of it. I caught the end of it because I was out for most of the day.
I'll give you a little review. So, Kyle Larson dominated. Now, I didn't see the race. I listened to it on the radio. I watched the race when I got home before I released my uncut article. Kyle Larson dominated all race, ran a hell of a race, but the thing with Atlanta is tire wear is the name of the game because in Atlanta, okay, I'll put it in perspective for those that are not racing fans. Imagine you have a freshly paved road, right? After a while, that road starts to get bumpy, stuff like that. That's what happened with Atlanta. And NASCAR drivers have said, but NASCAR drivers have said they like the challenge because fuel strategy, non-existent. It's all about the tire. Who manages their tires the best? And yesterday, Kyle Larson failed at that. Dominated all day, but at the end of the race, he did not save his tires as well. Car got harder to handle. Ryan Blaney passes him. Ryan Blaney wins the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500. And Kyle Larson with the second place finish. So, hell of a race by Larson, but he could not finish the job. They were in Atlanta, so you can say he pulled the typical Atlanta choke. Although the hometown boy Chase Elliott did not. He was running good, but after that wreck with Kurt Busch caused engine failure, so that forced him to finish in the 38th position. He's got some work to do now. This week is going to be a very intriguing week for the entire racing world. For the first time, I want to say 60 years, NASCAR is going dirt. They will be running at Bristol on dirt. It's going to be very intriguing. Now, Kyle Larson's going to be the obvious favorite because last year, while Kyle Larson was suspended from NASCAR, he would run dirt races. He ran in 96 races. He won 46. That is impressive. Luca, correct me if I'm wrong, that's over 50%, right? 46 out of 96 or close to it?
That's
really
near 50%.
Exactly. And that's unheard of in racing. So he's a very clear favorite going into this weekend. I'm very intrigued to see what this is going to look like. Because, again, the Cup Series has not run on dirt in almost, I want to say, 60 years. The way they're determining the field is going to be interesting, too, because they're going to run 3 heat races. For those that don't know, I'll use an example. Speed weeks, they have the dual races to determine where everybody starts. That's exactly what this is going to be. So I'm very excited for it. NASCAR has been begging for dirt racing for a very long time. And Luca, you're obviously new to the sport. I'm curious, what are you looking for this weekend for that race? Do you think it's going to be, very old school? You think it's going to be a lot of people not knowing what they're doing, lots of wrecks? What do you see for this weekend?
I'd expect that in a dirt race and then in a track that hasn't been running in over 60 years or whatever. But
it's not necessarily a track; it's just the style of race. Bristol, that's the normal Bristol racetrack. It's just they put dirt on it. But again, it's been 60 years since they just run dirt in general. But go ahead.
Right. It's going to be an interesting race, old-fashioned kind of. That's how I see it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Like I said, it's the only one of the year, so I'm very, very, again, I'm very excited. I also, excited to announce I'll be back at Pocono Raceway this year. Secured tickets. Can't wait. That's first race in it'll be 2 years. That's insane. Now, I'll tell you one thing. I know, because I know a lot of you are Giants fans. If you ever get the chance, you don't have to be a racing fan. Go to a NASCAR race. You can make your old redneck jokes and stuff like that, but trust me, it's worth it. Even Luca's been there, and he's not a huge NASCAR guy yet. He's still rather new. Whoa, Muncie almost got hit in the head. No score, top of the second in Peoria. So, I'm intrigued. Like I said, I personally believe Kyle Larson is going to win. There's no way you can bet against him. That's my personal opinion. My race review, or my race preview, will be coming out later this week, so check that out. Luca, we'll change the topic a little bit. What are your thoughts on the Yankee game tonight?
It was a shutout, obviously. Didn't really much expect of anything. But the Wilson injury with his shoulder tightness is a little concerning, especially we're how many days away from opening day. We don't have our top relievers. Chapman's going to be suspended. There's no Tommy Kahnle anymore. There's no Adam Ottavino anymore. There's still Chad Green, but who else do you have?
Well, my personal opinion, I'm reading Potato's comments here. Okay. I'll get back to that. As far as the bullpen goes, without Zach Britton, it's looking rough, I'll admit.
Yeah.
And what the problem was last year was Boone was prematurely pulling pitchers. So it almost makes you worry, are they going to overwork the pen again? And in a 162-game season, you can't do that because we're going to be worn out by August if that is indeed the case. I get last year was just a 60-game sprint, but they cannot. They can't do that again. Boone and they need to let off the analytics. They really do. Because the analytics, I think that's why we lost to the Rays last year in the ALDS. I'm sorry. I just do.
It is.
Taking out Devi Garcia for Jay Happ, who has openly said, I would rather be a starter than come out of the pen. How is that a good recipe for winning? I don't get it. The analytics have taken over this whole third time through the line. Okay, I said this a million times, and it's actually my father's statement, not even mine, but it's still a great point. What do? You got a perfect game going. You've gotten through the lineup twice. What are you going to do, take them out? You can't do that.
I hope not.
Blake Snell's another perfect example. Dominated last year in the World Series. I don't remember what was a game. What game was it? That
final game was Game 6, I think.
Game 6. Dominated. What did they do? They took him out. There's got to be something done because it's gotten too far, and I think it's honestly killing the game.
You think the players
believe that?
You think the players' union would ever say something about it?
No. No, because it's just evolution. Technology's just growing. That's honestly what I think it's just come down to.
The
You
eating
can
goat
say
is
it
back.
exists in the NFL, but yeah, well, what else is new? It seems like all you do is eat.
Thank you.
Yeah, whatever.
Just come on Twitter. Then we'll let in
So,
the latest guest. And I'm also eating crackers.
yeah, what
Are
else?
we ready to discuss an NFL free agency and our biggest winners losers thing?
Sure, let me pull that up. The picture of it. Obviously. All right, let me bring in Potato. Potato, how you doing today?
Hello. Oh,
you
nice.
doing?
How good? Good now. I spent like the last half an hour fixing my phone.
Yeah. Oh, sounds like fun.
Yeah, Android updated like part of itself, and it made the apps go crashing. So I had to like
Yeah.
reset it to factory, and yeah, it was not fun.
Yeah.
The choice of software are ever present.
All right.
Yeah.
So, with Potato on the panel, let's dip into NFL free agency. As I said, I did my research, and let's get right into it. So let me share my screen. Do have a graphic set up. If this thing would load. God forbid I have a connection issue. You guys see that?
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
Okay, so made a graphic. Obviously, people in the comments, feel free to tell me if you agree or disagree. Washington football team. I hate to say it, but they are one of the best teams coming out of free agency. Still going on, but I really like what they did.
Yeah, I just found it like since they're now Fitzmagic, it can either make it like they can go. He can either make them go all the way to Super Bowl or not even make them finals, like playoffs, because it's Fitzmagic and Fitztragic.
I know a lot of people actually dislike the Fitzpatrick move because it's not a long-term option.
Like,
there was a couple of quarterbacks out there like Jacoby Brissett, but I personally like they didn't release him, but they let Ronald Darby walk, and William Jackson now is their second corner, who is the number one in Cincinnati in a worse defensive scheme. So I like that move from them. Curtis Samuel obviously brings them a second receiver, really dynamic player, really underrated player. Hopefully, what's his face? Scott Turner knows what to do there. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, I personally, again, I like that move, but I do think they need somebody for the future.
Yeah. Honestly, might be the time like they might try to do like the Seahawks strategy. Like build a team around and just like draft a young QB next season.
Yeah.
And like,
I can see that.
Like Fitzmagic, like he can work for a year. Like he has proven that he can like make one good year. So we will see. We shall see what type of Fitzpatrick they get.
Yeah.
So New England. Hate to talk about them, but they're back up there again. A lot of these moves, to be honest, I'm really not a fan of, and I'll explain my theory with that. They lost Joe Thuney, David Andrews in free agency. David Andrews being their center, Joe Thuney being their left guard, but they do have that rookie out of Michigan. Well, was a rookie last year.
I think David Andrews is actually back with New England, I think. I'm not sure.
Is he? Because I know Ted Karras signed.
Because I remember I told you that Andrews is back with New England. You acted shocked because they re-signed Karras. So I don't think they truly lost him.
Yeah. Okay, I stand corrected on that one. But they lost Joe Thuney. They got David Andrews back. Matt Judon, Jonnu Smith, great moves, pass rush, good tight end. Same thing with Hunter Henry. They brought Kyle Van Noy back, which is a good move. When you go down to like some of the receivers, they got Aguilar and Bourne. In my opinion, to be honest with you, I think they're placeholders because you look at how many years they've been in the dynasty or whatever. You got Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski as the two monster tight ends. Julian Edelman was probably their best receiver at the time, not discounting all the other guys they had in the past. So I think they're just placeholders, and then the real focus on the offense is the top two tight ends, and then they cause the havoc on the defense, And if they don't, if they're covered, you get those outside receivers, the slot receivers, Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, and anyone else they other got. Let's go to the New York Giants. I honestly love what they did this offseason and supposed low cap, situation. They lost Kevin Zeitler, who is a key offensive piece in terms of being a guard. $12 million saved in cap space, though. Dalvin Tomlinson was let walk to the Minnesota Vikings. Kenny Golladay, really good move for the Giants. I really didn't expect this.
A needed move. We needed proper receiver.
Needed a good downfield receiver, like Potato just said, and Leonard Williams. They brought him back on a 3-year contract. New York Jets,
They
unfortunately.
structured Nate Solder, so we have even more cap space now.
Yep. 1 second here. I got to take a sip because I'm fat. Sean, right? Right, Sean?
Clearly.
I would say I'm way fatter than you. I'm not even hungry now.
Oh,
New York Jets. Let's talk about Luca's team. I'll let him talk about his team.
Well, so I think we did improve over so far the free agency period. We obviously signed Carl Lawson to suit the pass rush. We signed Corey Davis and Kalen Cole. Davis will likely be our most featured target. You got Jamison Crowder. You got Denzel Mims' second year. Hopefully he actually breaks out, which I hope he does. Obviously, I previously mentioned Davis, but I think we need to add another wide receiver via the draft for that one. Right now, our most glaring holes at the moment stand at cornerback 2 specifically, or cornerback 1, whichever you want to put Bryce Hall in, because I think he's going to be our starting corner next season. I don't know whether he'll be cornerback 1 or cornerback 2, but I'd say he's going to stay cornerback 2.
Did we lose him again?
I think we lost them.
To be fair, I think the most important part of that free agency was they got a proper head coach.
Oh, now he's back.
all right, I think he's back.
Yeah.
He's back.
Yeah, interior offensive line remains an issue. Van Roten and Lewis did not play well. They were terrible last season. They underperformed. So did Connor McGovern, but he's likely going to stay. So, yeah, in my suggestion, you draft 2 new offensive linemen. I don't know why people have a problem with that. And we also need an outside linebacker and maybe a backup running back. I heard we are interested in landing Tevin Coleman, and we were pretty close to doing that right now. So, yeah, that's how I see the Jets. It's somewhat improved, but we got to improve through get a few more signings, at least 1 or 2, and then build through the draft.
Yeah. Also, you placed Adam Gase. I think that's also an improvement.
Yes, of course.
A major improvement.
Major. So,
Yeah.
next team on the list is the Los Angeles Chargers. I really like what they did this offseason. Though they lost Hunter Henry, their number 1 corner, and Casey Hayward, which I think they could sort of fix through the draft. Though this is just free agency, and let me specify real quick. In similar shape does not mean that they're in good shape. It just means they were similar like last year. Like I think the Miami Dolphins are on their list. They didn't do a lot in free agency. Same thing with the Jaguars. They only made some minor signings. Arizona Cardinals, the same thing. So just to keep in mind, got worse means they lost pieces. It doesn't mean they're the worst team in the NFL. Got better means they added some pieces through free agency. So with the Chargers, I really like what they did. Showing off that offensive line for Justin Herbert. They did re-sign Michael Davis, which is a key win for them. I don't know that he's going to be a number 1 corner, but I think definitely they can assess that through the draft. Matt Filer probably going to be on that offensive line to be left guard or right guard. Corey Linsley, they stole him right from the Jets, even though Linsley was never interested. They lost Tyrod Taylor. I don't know that they signed a backup yet, but Tyrod Taylor was a key piece as a backup before Justin Herbert went in there. Sean's going to hate me for this. The Cincinnati Bengals, they improved this offseason. I'm still not sold on that team because I don't know that Zach Taylor is a good coach. I don't know that Lou Aronamo is a good defensive coordinator. Nonetheless, they do have some talent or added talent on there. They did sign Chidobe Awuzie from the Dallas Cowboys. They signed Troy Hendrickson from the New Orleans Saints. They signed Mike Hilton from the Steelers, and they added a swing tackle in Riley Reif. Meanwhile, they did lose Geno Atkins. They released him, William Jackson, and Carl Lawson. So Lawson kind of cuts with the Hendrickson thing, Awuzie with the Jackson thing, which is going to be interesting because I don't think that Chidobe Awuzie is the number one corner, but he might go to a worse scheme than Dallas. So we'll see what happens with that. In terms of the next team, the Denver Broncos. I'm going in order on the screen here. Ronald Darby, Kendall Fuller. I don't think they'll be drafting a corner at the number 9 position. I think they'll actually maybe draft a quarterback or a linebacker. They re-signed Tim Patrick, Justin Simmons, and Shelby Harris, key contributors to this team. Meanwhile, they did release Jarrell Casey, AJ Boye, and Philip Lindsay, but I don't think Lindsay is much of a loss for them. I think he was a one-year wonder. Next team is the Carolina Panthers. I'm not really sold on this team, to be honest with you, yet. They did sign some key players like David Moore, who was a key receiver in Seattle. They also signed Michael Pilardi. Actually, no, they lost Michael Pilardi. Excuse me. They also signed pass rusher Hassan Reddick to a prove-it deal, coming off, a year where he was one of the best pass rushers, but also at the same time, he did have his option decline in Arizona for a goddamn reason. So, and they also lost Curtis Samuel, which is big there, but I guess David Moore, he's not as, dynamic as Speedy, but he does kind of fill that void, even though Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore are the front runners on that offense. So the final team that got better.
The Broncos, I think, like in the similar boat to us, like they have a QB that needs to be proven. Like if Drew Luck doesn't improve, I don't think the team can go far in Broncos.
Yeah, and it's not just about the quarterback. I also think it's about Vic Fangio. What he's been able to do over the last 2 years hasn't been the greatest. So we'll see about that. They're definitely one of the teams we face this year. I think we could beat them, but they're also, like the Bears, I think Fangio and Nagy are on the hot seat, just to put it that way. Because obviously I think Fangio was the main reason for that 1 year where, they went to the wild card. But the last team that got better, in my opinion, on this board is the Seattle Seahawks. They cut Carlos Dunlap and also release. They didn't release him, but I think David Moore walked in free agency.
So did Shaquille Griffin.
Wilson's? You were saying?
I said so did Shaquille Griffin. Shaquille Griffin walked.
Shaquille Griffin as well. One of their corners, but Russell Wilson was screaming for offensive line help, and he got it. Gabe Jackson they traded for. They brought back Ethan Pochich. I don't know how good he is. They brought back Chris Carson on a 2-year deal. They also got Akella Witherspoon from the 49ers. I guess that's payback for Richard Sherman. And they also got Gerald Everett as a receiving tight end. Now, we go into the teams that got worse.
Also, before you move on, the Seahawks are actually – Russell Wilson's trying to get Antonio Brown to come again. So it could be another key piece on offense, and that'd be interesting because if the NFL does, I'm almost certain they went through with the 17-game thing. But if that is officially in order, Seattle will be coming to Pittsburgh next year, so that could be interesting. Antonio Brown's return to Pittsburgh.
I think it's coming. I know they got the deal through, so it means they're allowed to do 17 games. So either this or next year it might happen.
I know they said if it does go through this year, Steelers would be playing Seattle at home. But
I don't play in Miami in that case.
That'll be lots of South from Steelers fans in the stadium.
Let's see what I say. Okay. Anyway, let's go to the Chicago Bears. I think they really regressed. They cut Kyle Fuller, cap reasons. They have Bobby Massey in free agency. I don't know how good he played, but I would consider a swing tackle option. I think he's in his 30s. Roy Robertson Harris, they lost on defense. They lost Mitchell Trubisky. Let's cry. But they replaced him with Andy Dalton, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, Andy Dalton and a Chicago Bears offense. We're beating Chicago this year.
Honestly, they should have just put in Nick Foles and not even bother.
I don't know why you need 2 veterans on that team like they have.
Honestly, I think you just panic. They want the Sean or the other from Seahawks quarterback, forgot name.
Yeah, Russell Wilson.
They wanted both of them, and they they were available. So they just said, "Oh no, we need to kill quarterback." So they just signed Dalton.
I would have drafted the quarterback honestly, because if you don't get any of the veterans you want and get signed for Andy Dalton, I mean that's just. He did okay for the Cowboys last year, but he's not a full-time starter at this point in his career.
Just put in Nick Foles. It's gonna be the same, and you're gonna save cap.
And you're paying him so much money too. Desmond Trufant is not necessarily a great replacement for Kyle Fuller.
Akeem
Also,
Hicks.
the defensive coordinator retired, so that's going to be interesting to see on that side of the ball.
I was also going to bring up one thing. I was going to say that also Akeem Hicks is going to be traded, probably.
Interesting. The next team, Sean's favorite team. Sean, you want to go into it?
Yeah. Well, I kind of got it, discussed it throughout the whole thing. Obviously, the Steelers got worse. It's free agency. They've always been that team to kind of build through the draft. So I'm not surprised. I know the cap was, it's kind of destroying us right now because we lost a lot of big key pieces. Bud Dupree, Mike Hilton, freaking traitor. Matt Filer's gone. We got, we brought Juju back, which I do like, with a 1-year prove-it deal. Bring in Big. Yeah, we still have Big Ben. One thing that worries me about him though is his age. It's gonna, it's still, we gotta wait a year now and see what we're gonna do about the QB of the future. So we still gotta figure that part out.
So
right now, we see. Go ahead.
We only threw 4 interceptions. Oh, we upgraded this to 5 interception in playoff game.
So, yeah. Obviously the offense really hasn't changed too much. So that's where I think actually we need more improvement. As far as defense goes, I have a lot of trust in Alex Highsmith. He's, going to be the replacement for Bud Dupree. So I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful he can, prove it to me. I forgot to mention too earlier, we lost Vince Williams. See how Spillane does. And how, he struggled last year. I don't mind so much not bringing him back. But, I worry about Spillane because before he got injured last year, everybody was praising how great he was. But when he played in that game against Cleveland, he was a liability. So we got to see what kind of Spillane we get.
You also.
So, go ahead.
I was also going to mention that, I'm not sure if you mentioned this or not, but Ben is going to have a new center next year.
Yeah, no, I almost said Mike Pouncey, Marquise Pouncey. So we're going to have to see what they do about that. Obviously, we need a run game now because now James Conner is likely not coming back. I think from, what we've been hearing with the draft, they're very highly interested in Najee Harris out of Alabama and Travis Etienne. I'll be happy with either or. I'll take either or. So we'll see what happens with the run game. We get a run game, and I think we could still be a good team. I still am not saying Super Bowl. I'm still not. I know a lot of Steelers fans, they're just like, the way we think about the Yankees, championship or bust. I'm praying. I really am. I think they can, but I just don't see it. Not, Big Ben's not getting any younger. Our offense, they still have a lot. They have a ways to go. Last year proved it. They got good. They got hot-headed, and look at where it got them. 11-0, complete massive choke. So
we'll see. Opponent.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but I'm not going to disagree with you here, Alex. I think the Steelers obviously did get worse, and some fans are panicking. But I don't think there's a reason to panic.
And if you don't assess the O-line, and obviously you have no cap space, so you can't assess it, but in terms of the draft, you don't assess it. Big Ben you guys are going to completely implode.
Mm-hmm.
Screw the wide receivers. Ben's not going to have any protection. He's not that mobile. He's not friggin' Sean Watson. So if you don't assess that, you have a missing center, you have a missing left tackle, you have a missing right tackle. Zach Banner's coming off an ACL injury, which he suffered at MetLife Stadium. So you have 3 missing positions. Also, Matt Filer's gone. So do you guys still have Wisniewski? I don't think you do. I think the Chiefs have him. He started the Super Bowl, I think.
They just signed somebody who was with the Chiefs last year. I don't remember who. I forget the guy's name, but they just signed. Yeah, they signed somebody
They signed what's his face from the Buccaneers, Joe Haig. So that probably solves right tackle, but he's also a swing tackle, so I don't think he's a starter. But once again, they have to address the O-line in the draft. If they don't, Big Ben is fucking dead. For the Raiders, they did add pieces, but I really don't get their strategy. I really don't. They traded away how many offensive linemen? You get a second running back. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think problem is
they traded away the O line because it was like one of the most costliest in the like league, but it was performing. So I think they just decided to blow it up because it was not performing for the money they were paying them.
I mean, absolutely, yeah. Also, and it doesn't help that the defense is still a problem. I mean, sure, you add pieces like Yannick Ngakoue and Quentin Jefferson from the Buffalo Bills, and you re-signed Jonathan Hankins. But adding another guy like Solomon Thomas, I mean, he was a first-round bust. What is he going to do for your defense? John Brown, the big, he basically replaces Aguilar. Kenyon Drake, yeah, sure, but really next to Josh Jacobs with no O-line? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Who they lose? Nelson, you were saying?
Poor Carl. He has to suffer on the
Poor Derek Carr. You are damn right on that one.
They have the worst organization in the recent history, if I remember correctly. Also, if you look at the win-loss, they are the worst than Browns since the 2000s.
Yeah, you're actually right. Now I remember. Yeah, Raiders. They've been one of the worst teams in this century.
Yeah, in 2000 they have the worst win-loss compared win-loss in the league.
Yeah, you're 100% right about it.
They did lose three key offensive linemen. Gabe Jackson, the right guard, their center, Rodney Hudson, their right tackle, Trent Brown. So that whole offensive line, the whole right side is just completely gone. They re-signed Richie Incognito, but it's only going to be a matter of time till he starts going out of his prime. Still a good guy, but in terms of playing football, and he's a good guard, but he's not good off the field. They also lost Tyrell Williams, LaMarcus Joyner to the Jets. It's one thing I forgot to add, and they also signed Nick Martin to be the center from the Texans. I mean, that's just a cheap replacement in my opinion, because again, I don't see their vision. I don't know what the hell they're going to do next year. I think Gruden's going to be fired. It's just my opinion.
He should have been fired a few years ago, this year.
They should have hired him in the place. He shouldn't have been.
Did they fire the defensive coordinator for
they did. They fired Paul Gunther sometime last season.
I think it was after the Miami game when they had like the face mask 50-yard throw.
Oh yeah, I remember that. And then Fitzpatrick Fitzpatrick threw a downfield pass, and then they completely, they blew that game. Which again, coaching. And honestly, I think a lot of the picks, and we were streaming in the draft last year. Some of these picks, I'm like, you're taking Damon Arnett in the first round. I'm like, really? Yeah. Some of these picks, again, you have a draft analyst / former player as your GM. Am I going to say Mayok's a genius? He's not a genius. He probably knows more than me. But John Gruden is just – it seems like coaches that take a year off or years off in the NFL don't succeed on their second run back. Michael McCarthy is a perfect example of that, and I still think that's going to stay. But anyway.
Well, let's be honest, in his first day, he also had Rodgers to help him through that stay.
Yeah, and he suppressed the running game in Green Bay by a lot. And he did that in Dallas last year because Ezekiel Elliott, I mean, it didn't help the O-line was injured. But again, Zeke's stats just dipped. Tennessee, I honestly think this is a 5-11 candidate team. Sorry, Ryan Tannehill. Sorry to
Derrick Henry.
Sorry to Derrick Henry, but honestly, this team has to be one of the most regressed teams. They got Bud Dupree, 5 years, like $82 million. Janoris Jenkins, who's, a corner edging out of his prime. I don't know that he's going to be able to replace Malcolm Butler. Kendall Lamb, who's a swing tackle, probably will play right tackle. And also Danico Autry, a defensive end from the Indianapolis Colts. And then you look at who they lost. Jadeveon Clowney, I don't consider a big loss, to be honest with you. Dory Jackson, they lost to the Giants. Desmond King, they lost. Key kick return and a cornerback, which they totally just lost that trade. Corey Davis to the Jets. And now Malcolm Butler. So, again, I think they're in a shithole on defense, if I want to be honest with myself. You think?
I'm going to disagree, actually. I'm not going to say, okay, I agree with what you said about them regressing. but I don't see them as a 5-11 team. I still think, yeah, they regress. They have a really bad defense, but I still think that offense. I still think the offense is going to still lead them to some big wins. Maybe not. They might regress back to that 9-7 phase like they've been doing for the last several years, with the exception of last year. I don't see them dropping all the way down to 5-11. I don't think that's that bad.
They might pull out Dallas. Basically, they might pull out Dallas with Dak. Like basically, the offense will have to carry the entire team.
Yeah. And I, to be honest with you, with the loss of, Davis, he only performed in his last year. Yeah, what was it? AJ Brown is your probably, as of right now, your only receiver on offense. If I'm missing anybody, I apologize. But I just don't think, in my opinion, that this Derrick Henry train of carrying the offense and carrying the defense is going to be, it's not going to take too long for the gas to run out. Basically, that's what happened. Flip it around with the Giants' defense in 2017. Everything and everybody sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to Philly.
I was also going to mention something.
Sure.
Well, you also forgot Jonnu Smith is gone, and so is Arthur Smith. So how does the offense do they get better or do they get worse without Arthur Smith? Because
they get worse.
Because what was Arthur Smith built on? The run game. He made Derrick Henry better. Now, will Derrick Henry be schemed correctly, or will he regress?
Good question.
Hey.
Attempt the dumpster fire of Eagles.
So, the next one is Philly. Honestly, they're just their cap situation, and this is kind of biased, but it's not. They got worse. Their only key signing with the money that they did have and stole from the people of Philadelphia was Anthony Harris, $5 million over 1 year from the Minnesota Vikings, and they signed former Giant Andrew Adams, who's a backup safety in this league. They lost their punter, Cam Johnson. They also lost a corner who they absolutely destroyed in Nikel Roby-Coleman. He was not good last year. Same thing with Jalen Mills, who is now a safety. He went to the New England Patriots. In terms of Atlanta,
also they also might lose their tight end when they allow him to
Zach Ertz. Yeah, they might lose him. Yeah, and if they do,
also.
I can't wait for them to sit at the bottom of the basement in the NFC East. In terms of Atlanta,
this.
You were saying
before you move on, because I obviously keep up with the Eagles because of where I live, and I know a lot of Eagles fans. I truly believe they're on the verge of a tank. I really do, because the money situation, Pennsylvania right now is salary cap hell. It just is, whether you're the Steelers or you're the Eagles. I just think I really don't see how the Eagles can, and these talks of Deshaun Watson and everything, that would make it worse because, the guy mentioned from the stream on Saturday, you can't build around Watson. You'd be putting him in a worse situation. Obviously, they lost Deshaun Jackson to LA. I don't think that was a major loss because he played 10 games, if I remember correctly. So I really think, they're going to have to trade Zach Ertz. I think the Eagles are on the verge of a rebuild, and it's going to be a tough time. I'm glad I'm moving out now because I think if the Eagles do blow it up, I think we're going to be seeing some riots up here.
So if the Eagles did tank it in their last game of the season.
Yeah, I hated that as a Giants fan. I really did. What was I going to say? Next team is Atlanta, and I didn't really expect them to do much in free agency. I don't know their cap situation. They got depth guys they have depth guys, or at least got depth guys. Brandon Copeland and Eric Harris. Harris was a starting safety with Oakland, Las Vegas. They lost two key pieces in Keanu Neal, as much as we consider him, not a piece because he's had 2 ACL injuries in the last 3 years. He was a piece on that defense, at least, wanted to be this year. And Alex Mack, who's been their center for a lot of years, and he goes to Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco and replaces Weston Richburg, the former Giant. So the next team is the Baltimore Ravens. I
think the Falcons can perform well if they don't choke out wins.
That's Atlanta.
Problem.
Yeah,
that's a problem. That's why I think. I think they need to blow it up.
was like 3 or 4 games they lost with 99%, like over 90% probability of winning.
Yeah,
Especially the one against the Bucks.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like
and Dallas. That's what I said. I think they need
pissed me off.
to blow it up.
yeah,
I think they need to blow it up because after 28-3, they can't do it. They can't. So I think they better they need to tank. I'm sorry. They need to.
Honestly-
I've been very anti-tank, but this isn't working. They need to do
Honestly,
something.
yeah.
And
we might see
know.
this draft if they draft a QB that would sit behind theirs. That would be sign of like
Mhm.
okay, they're like tanking. They're like gonna get rid of their QB and everything.
Mhm.
So, what was I going to say? The last team, Baltimore, they lost a lot on the defense, in my opinion, at least. Yannick Ngakoue and Matt Judon, their 2 top pass rushers. They re-signed Tyus Bowser, who's basically their second-tier outside linebacker because they run a 3-4. They lost Matt Skora in free agency, so I guess if he's still on that team, Patrick McCarry will probably move to center. Mark Ingram, they lost him, but they still have Justice Hill and J.K. Dobbins and all of those other guys in the backfield. They also got Kevin Zeitler, but again, I think they just got worse on the pass rushing side because the last couple of years, at least in my opinion, the pass rush has not been good for them. They were always relying on the back end to do the job, and then they finally get to the
To be fair, they were able to sack DJ 4 times in a row. 3 times in a row.
Yeah, and they sacked them 6 total times in that game, which really pissed me off. But what's his face? Don Martindale, he's a pretty smart guy, and he makes up for some of the talent they don't have, which I think, again, they did lose a lot of pieces on the defense, in my opinion. But I think not Greg Roman, that's the offensive coordinator. Don Martindale will definitely try to make up for that. Next team.
Also, I think the problem with them is did they ever sign a wide receiver or not? Because
I know they're in to sign Sammy Watkins, but I don't think a wide receiver is going to help anything because all they do is run the football.
Yeah. So, because if they sign a proper one, they could maybe teach your QB to throw, so they have more, so they don't run it only.
So the next team is Dallas, and I feel that they did get worse. They re-signed Jordan Lewis. They re-signed Dak Prescott to a big extension. They also got a swing tackle in Ty Nsekhe. With that, I just think that their offensive line is getting older and that they're not going to be as good as they were in their prime. They lost Chidobe Awuzie, who's their top corner. And though Trayvon Diggs is coming into another year in the NFL, I just don't think that them being a defense are going to shore up unless they really go hard corner in the draft, like a Patrick Surtain or a Caleb Farley. So,
did they fire their defensive coordinator from last year or not?
Yes, they did. They also hired the former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, Dan Quinn, to be their defensive coordinator now. So we'll see how that happens.
There might be some slight improvement on defense, but they didn't fire Matt Carty, so.
So the next team is Detroit. I feel that they obviously regressed. Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones, wiped them out. Josh Hill they signed, but he's a backup tight end. They got Jared Goff. I think absolutely.
That's easily a down.
They traded for Michael Brockers from the Rams, which is actually weird because they traded for Goff, and both of those guys do not like each other. So unless this is a Dan Campbell locker room where no shit is tolerated, you just think that something's gonna happen. And I think Jared Goff got traded to a worse situation. His relationship with Sean McVay was deteriorating. And if Goff was complaining, well, now you're in a shittier situation than you were even before. Matt Stafford, he gets an upgrade.
Yeah, they saved. He's free. The Matt Stafford's been freed from Detroit. People rejoice. He might actually win something.
Poor man went from living in the sun of Los Angeles to the nightmare of the 313.
The swamp of Detroit.
Honestly, I remember there was a theory going around that Sean McVay was reading the defenses for Goff and just telling him what to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because they were if you look at them, always really quick with the clock. So he would just always he would tell him what to do and they would immediately snap it, so they don't have time to change it.
Detroit, as I said, on the offensive side of the ball, they got Goff. Defensive side, they got Michael Brockers. They also signed a backup running back in Jamal Williams. They also still have DeAndre Swift. So I don't know that they're going to be a team that just has a number one running back. Next team is Green Bay. They didn't necessarily win anything this free agency, at least that I have know of. They lost.
Someone gets Grossi.
Aaron Rodgers is going to be real happy with his offensive line next year unless they, really prioritize in the draft. Corey Linsley, Lane Taylor, Rick Wagner. Key pieces on that offensive line, Christian Kirksey, the linebacker that they signed from the Browns, I think it was the last year, didn't do much in the run game, so that's probably why they cut him. Also with a cap hit. Jamal Williams, they lost, but I don't think that's a big loss because they have A.J. Dillon. They drafted him last year, so I think that's a pretty good draft. At the same time, the offensive line, you really have to prioritize it along with the run stopper in this draft. So
yeah, honestly, the issue with them is they can't sign anyone to replace the O-line.
Yeah.
And also, I feel there's slight issue they're relying on one wide receiver. They want Adams, and if something happens to him, I don't think they have a chance to go anywhere far.
No, absolutely. That's probably one of the things they're going to pursue in the draft. Was someone trying to say something?
Nope.
I guess not.
If you look out, it's just his camera just busted.
Houston. They made a lot of signings and trades, and I'm not sold. I'm sorry, I'm not sold. Because
do we even really need to discuss Houston? I mean, Bill O'Brien put them in such a bad situation that it's going to take years to fix that franchise. They actually said, I think it was Luka that said it. So many of their fans went to being Cowboys fans. That's how bad Bill O'Brien destroyed that team. So I don't even. I don't know how you can get any worse than
it's gonna really take years to recover. And a lot of the deals, and Field Yates being one of the NFL reporters, he was impressed with some of the stuff they did. I'm not, because it's basic 1-year deals. Marcus Cannon, they traded for. That's the one move I do like. Christian Kirksey from the Packers, not really a move I like. They traded, I think it was Benedict McKinney away for Shaq Lawson. He's basically like Carl Lawson, just a downgrade. Cam Johnston, punter. Jordan Jenkins, rotational pass rusher and depth player. Same with Derek Rivers. Desmond King, I like, but I think he'll screw up on the defense because I don't think Houston can come out of that. I don't know what scheme they run, though. They traded for Ryan Izzo and Ryan Finley, which did not make sense. The one other thing I do like is that they signed Tyrod Taylor, which I guess they're trying to really buy back Deshaun Watson, but I guess it's not working.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
Right now, if you're the Texans, obviously they keep saying they don't want to trade Deshaun Watson. But if you do trade Deshaun Watson, what are you trying to get in return?
I would say picks. You need to build up.
Lots of picks.
Yeah, I'd say
3 firsts, a second, and 2/3, maybe.
Yeah,
Luka?
2 firsts, 2. Yeah, I would agree with Alex. 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a third. Maybe throw a player in there.
I was gonna say, yeah, maybe you should throw in a player. Get someone on the cheap.
Yeah, they lost Will Fuller and J.J. Watt. I mean, they're not big losses because Will Fuller will have a suspension next year, and he's kind of injury prone. And J.J. Watt, he's towards the end of his career. New Orleans.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, they might play hard enough to win. That's what is the. Yeah, they might play hard enough to win. That's their motto, I think, now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I forgot what this guy's name is.
The GOAT Bobby Miller is in the chat, and he's always trolling because he wants Sam Howell on next year's draft because he feels Jones is not the answer. Anyway, New Orleans Saints. They regressed. They lost Emmanuel Sanders, Drew Brees, obviously, Trey Hendrickson, Quan Alexander, Janoris Jenkins. They're in cap hell, so they had to release a lot of players. They only signed P.J. Williams, so something's bound to happen to them. And we'll see what happens regarding the QB situation. You were saying?
I said I don't think they're going to be a good team this year. I really don't. Drew Brees is gone, and I don't know. They'll just be like that 9-7 team. They don't even have an answer at quarterback.
For now it's Winston and Taysom Hill, but the problem is they're in a bad cap situation, like so many teams this year. So they're also on a team that could be on the verge of completely blowing it out. I mean, that playoff game, I think, is really it for them.
It's half a miracle they even were able to get under the cap space. Like,
Honestly, I mean,
Big time.
yeah,
I don't
it
know
is a
how.
big deal.
I don't know
But-
how they did it.
honestly, it's
But
like said like they had like the 3 years, but the referee screwed them over with like one of them,
Yep.
and they choked out the other one horribly against Vikings. So
Saints
Yeah.
fans.
I would say
It's a
though, I would not doubt Jameis Winston. Sure, he's the interception king, but
best
when he's on
player.
point, he can be scary. So I wouldn't count New Orleans out just yet because I think Winston still has a lot of potential. If he limits the interceptions, he can be a top quarterback easily, in my opinion.
He could have learned under Drew Brees from the year. Like he could have
True.
learned like,
Yeah,
Very true.
exactly.
like to reduce the interceptions, so he's no longer the best defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
Next team is San Francisco. Though they did sign Alex Mack to be their center, they signed Samson Ebukam, who I think is severely underrated in this league. Jason Verrett is one of their corners, and Trent Williams, who is their left tackle for the next couple of years. They also lost a couple of defensive pieces, including their defensive coordinator to the New York Jets. What was I going to say? Solomon Thomas, that's not really a loss, but 4 corners are free agents. I think only one have been signed so far, but Richard Sherman, Akella Witherspoon, Emmanuel Mosley, and Kwan Williams. That's tough. Jaquiski Tartt, their safety as well. Let me answer Joseph's question real quick. It's not necessarily in order, Joseph, but what I mean by this stuff is like who got better with free agency, who got worse, and I'm not saying like the Packers or the Chiefs because they're both teams on there. They got worse. They're going to be 6-10 next year, but lost some key pieces in similar shape, obviously. In similar shape, whether they're good or bad. What was I saying? San Francisco. So they lost a lot of defensive pieces, and I just don't know that the same magic will be created with whoever is going to be defensive coordinator next year because Robert Saleh left, and you have 4 cornerbacks who are free agents. So
I think at least at the beginning of the season they get better because they'll be healthy for a part, like for the few 2 games they'll be healthy, and they'll just regress into the classic 49ers. Everybody being injured.
What's up,
That's
Frankie
the thing.
G?
I think if they could stay healthy, I still think that they can be a dangerous team. But you're right. I mean, they lost a lot of pieces,
Honestly,
so it's hard to gauge.
Yeah,
Very sad to hear about that.
I don't like, for example, like having Jimmy Garoppolo as my quarterback. It's like, yeah, he's average, above average, but he's injured like half the season every year. It's like that's not a good quarterback.
And that's why I think they should be the team to trade for Deshaun Watson. My opinion, because I think, if they can bring back what they did 2 years ago when they went to the Super Bowl, you get a quarterback like that, and I think they're threats again. But with Jimmy G at QB, I just don't see it. They're 10-6, 11-5, maybe at best.
Yeah,
guys, don't be afraid. Obviously, as the banner below says, comment, like, and subscribe. I'm presuming that Cush's thing is over because a lot of these guys on here, or at least the ones commenting recently, do come from Cush's channel and do show up on a lot of his streams. But obviously, again, thank you guys for viewing so far. And we're 2 minutes, 30 minutes, 2 hours and 30 minutes into this. But next is the Kansas City Chiefs. And beside what they did in the Super Bowl and, how they got wrecked on defense,
the full read mode. They activated the full read mode.
Their offensive line.
Yeah. I just think they outcoach like when when you can't use the tactic, screw it, go deep. Just run it as you run it against the Bills, like just short, like play Alex Smith offense. Like it's not gonna be flashy, but it's gonna win you the game.
Yeah, and the fact is that they lost. They didn't have their 2 starting tackles, which ultimately friggin' destroyed them. I mean, Mike Remmers is absolutely not trustable in a Super Bowl.
That's why they might be better, because they didn't have time. If you play Alex Smith, you have time.
No.
Yeah,
and coach also would help your struggling defense, who's getting ripped apart by Brady. You were most of the field.
So they did lose
Yeah.
Mitchell. They lost 3 offensive linemen as this far. Eric Fisher, Austin Reiter, their center, and again, their 2 starting tackles in Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher. They did sign Joe Tooney, though, who is probably going to be their left guard, which isn't, it's a miracle signing in my opinion because I didn't think they had the cap space. But Mike Remmers is just a good signing. I mean, honestly, they need to go O-line in the draft, and if they don't, oof.
Oh, Patrick Mahomes can run faster.
Frankie G's doing a lot of YouTube tonight. He's going back from Entertainer, to Bad Dog, to Hub, and Big Blue in the Bronx. I honestly didn't know that Entertainer was live. I know Bad Dog is live. I knew
he said he's gonna go live once if we signed Connor.
Dory Jackson.
Yeah, that's it. We signed him. He went live because of that.
So finally, to basically, Bobby says, "Why don't you like me?" Well, I mean, you do seem kind of a troll, Bobby. You also do want a quarterback and don't believe Daniel Jones is the answer. Give me one second.
We'll see next season. Well, I'm gonna be watching. I'm gonna be excited watching us run 10-yard plays with Golladay because that's the peak of Clapper.
All right, so now we move into the teams that are in similar shape. Basically, they lost not many role players on defense and offense. Tampa Bay re-signed Gronk, Shaq Barrett, Levante David, and Ryan Suckup. They did lose.
I like the Tampa Bay style. They basically going for New England.
Yeah.
Saying, if you go for a cheap deal, you're gonna get the ring.
Bobby wants to know why you're a Jets fan, Luca. It's because the real story is that one day he saw a Jets jersey in his closet and said, "I'm a Jets fan."
No, that's not true.
No, it is true. It's either that or my sister forced him to be a Jets fan.
And if that's the case, I feel sorry.
No, you're not. No, you shouldn't feel sorry for him. That's.
I'm a Steelers fan that came from a Giants family, so that's why I have a mutual respect for the Giants.
But like the thing is, Jets. They're not the Steelers. They don't have 6 rings. The Jets. Luca's well aware of what his team is.
Luca, I like Katata. I love that you brought that up. Luca, try to explain to everybody how you claim the butt fumble is the most overrated play. Please explain. Please.
I would love to explain.
Come on, Luca, make your argument. Make your argument.
I don't know, the only play I know about the Jets.
I'm going to stop sharing for one moment, and then I'll go back to it.
All right, so
Luca's going to try to claim that the butt fumble, wasn't Mark Sanchez's fault.
The butt should be nice.
All right, you got to give me the platform, though. I have to. You guys have to be all ears.
We're ready for you.
All right, so obviously what happened.
Go ahead.
I don't think it's Mark Sanchez's fault because Vince Wilfork literally pushed Brandon Moore, the right guard, into Mark Sanchez. Literally pushed him into it.
He really ran into it.
There was Hold on a second. There was a little hole where Mark Sanchez was running. And how would you feel if someone got pushed and then that person that got pushed
he fumbled?
He ran into a dude's ass. What? He could have stopped himself. He's not freaking
Lamar Jackson out there.
He could have not fumbled.
It was a flash.
He could have slid under him. Not full. He could have slid under him, like he just rammed inside of him, like could have just slide or like put his head down.
It was a complete flash.
Chat. Whose fault was it for the butt fumble?
Was it Mark Sanchez if you think the butt fumble was overrated? Please.
They literally, ESPN and whoever, literally have to review the same play every goddamn year.
I think as you really put it, it's perfect play for Jets. Because as he said it,
the butt fumble defines the Jets organization. Oh, let me run. Oh no, there's an ass. And I hit it and I dropped the ball and I let the Patriots win.
Literally the most overrated play in NFL history.
What's going on, Joel?
Do we already have the Turf Monster DJ?
Don't worry, we already
He
got
scored on
memes.
that drive, though. That's the difference. They didn't.
Nobody
score
cares
because-
about if he scored on the drive or not.
What do you mean?
It's the
He
play
literally
itself.
scored on the drive, Luca. It's so different from the butt fumble.
To
What
be
are
fair,
you
I think it
talking about?
matters. I think the moment itself is what matters. Like, oh, he scored. Okay, we don't care. He got tackled by a turf monster. Like, it wouldn't matter for the butt fumble if they scored on the drive. Like, if nothing happened, but it's a butt fumble. That's the point. The important
And the
part.
New England completely walked all over the Jets that glorious Thanksgiving night.
Don't
Totally
they walk
glorious,
over?
right?
Don't they walk over them? Like, didn't they walk over them for the past 10 years?
Yeah, they have.
Yes,
They haven't-
but
They haven't. What do you mean, but?
because we owned their ass in the freaking divisional round of the 2011 playoffs.
That's one game though.
Oh my God, Bob
Kim.
is singing. Oh God.
What?
You know what,
Why?
Luca?
You're just copy and pasting lyrics.
He's done.
He's doing copy pasta.
He
Yeah, good
repeated,
thing
he
he
repeated it
on
at least
this.
3 times. Yeah, and Luca's sitting. Luca, Luca, when was the last time you beat the Patriots in Foxborough? You know what? No, not even that. Not even that. You had your shot this year because the
Alex-
Patriots were depleted. You had your final shot to at least win once or twice against the Patriots. Nope, you guys had to suck and sit there and tank. That's your problem. That's not my problem.
Yeah, but Alex,
So-
you shouldn't really be talking either because when was the last time you won in Philly?
Exactly.
Yeah, but Luca, we're
When was
not
it?
owned by Philly, unlike you. Oh, we lead the record in the preseason.
It took you 5 years to beat them. Look at last year. Look at
When
the
was
year
the last
before.
time the Patriots beat the Patriots lost to the Jets?
2015. Okay, but we're okay, and I get that. But you know, it took you 5 years too.
Yeah, come on, Alex. Be fair.
Yeah. Yes, but we won to them recently. There could be a point in
I
a
know.
case. Shut up. There could be a point in a case made if we didn't win to Philly at least once this year. Same thing with Dallas. But no, Luca's going to sit here, pick his boogers because he knows that Philly owns him. And then he'll come back
But
with, of
Alex-
course. No, shut up, Sean. Then, of course, he'll come up with the comeback. We owned them in the preseason.
I was joking about that.
No, you're not joking about that because you think the preseason
But
matters more
Alex-
than the regular season.
Look at all the times you choked against Philly. 2017 at Philly. What did
That's
Jake
the
Elliott
fact.
do? He laughed at you. Let's look at 2018. I think it was 2018. You had like a 19-3 lead. You choked. 2019. You did the exact same thing. What'd you do this year? Exact
Butterfingers.
Same thing.
4 straight times you choked against the
Butter-
divisional rival.
You weren't even close to winning against the Patriots, Luca. How many times did you get blown out in the last 4 to 5 years?
At least we
Look,
played.
you did not be- What, Luca? What?
I'm not even gonna say anything.
Wow, why? Because I'm right. Yeah, right. Thank you very much. Overrated. Remember, butt fumble's overrated.
But Alex, let's remember something. You haven't beat the Jets since 2011, so we still got
Yeah,
that.
All-time record, baby. All-time record.
2011.
I think we stopped at Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
We stopped at Tampa Bay. Next on to Arizona, who I think is completely overrated, and I think they're fake. They lost to Son Riddick, Patrick Peterson, Kenyon Drake, and Larry Fitzgerald. They filled Fitzgerald's hole with another past his prime in A.J. Green. Though he's not going to be the main pass catcher. Matt Prater takes over for Zane Gonzalez, and J.J. Watt, again, they grossly overpaid this man because of the way the market. Hassan Riddick literally got a cheaper deal for more production, $8 million a year. Well, it was a 1-year contract. Then J.J. Watt gets 2 years, $31 million. Gross overpay. That's why I think the Cardinals are fake.
I think if the Cardinals become contenders, it's a 1-year deal. They're not built for the long term right now. They're trying to be the Bucks right now, and it's not going to work. They got pieces to build around. They got Kyler. They got DeAndre Hopkins. They got pieces to build around, but they can't be going past their primes. That's not bright, especially the way they overpaid.
I honestly think
JJ.
coaching has to do with it because if Byron Murphy hasn't, I'm not a Cardinals fan, so I don't know. But if something's been holding them back. It could be coaching, but also could be talent. They've invested in defense in the last 2 to 3 years. I mean, ever since the Giants, going back to what was it? What year was it? 2019. The defense was bad, but we couldn't do anything. So
it's not Big Blue's birthday. Big Blue's birthday is not until August.
Yeah, he's doing this on purpose. I hope you know that.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's my birthday's in August.
Also, I think things very like how he presents as a head coach, because I think there have been some questionable play calls from him. Like against Seahawks, you need to score. He just says screw it, go deep for like midfield 3 times in a row.
Guys, respectfully, you guys are about let's do them. Maybe about 4 months, and you're about 5 months minus 3 days early.
That's
5 months minus 3 days early. So appreciate the happy birthday wishes. You guys can always buy me a cake anytime.
So I can't donate though. I think you have donations, do you?
I want to get into the Browns really quick because I got this question for you guys. Because you know about OBJ. Obviously, OBJ kind of held the Giants back. My opinion. With OBJ returning next year, obviously the Browns did better without OBJ. Do you think OBJ holds the Browns back in 2021?
Why would they want to trade him if that wasn't the reason?
Yeah. Also, if they I think they would trade him at this point, or they would just give him a diminished role on the offense.
Now, let me ask you this. I know Alex is going to love this question. How would you feel about an OBJ reunion?
Shut up.
I had that comment.
I haven't been a fan. I haven't been a fan for long enough to actually see OBJ. So,
what if OBJ joins the Patriots?
Then it's
Don't
Luca. Don't put that thought in my head.
Luca, you're doing only yourself harm. I hope you know that because you face him 2 times a year.
That's true.
Yeah.
He's gonna magically be good because Bill Belichick is gonna use his dark powers on him.
Yeah, he's gonna take care of him, right? Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, to get more specific into the Cleveland Browns, they lost Olivier Vernon, and all these guys have not been signed yet, except for Ogunjobi and Lamb. But they lost a couple of key pieces on defense. Well, actually, more like role players on defense. They did sign a couple of good players, though. Inside linebacker Anthony Walker to go along with John Johnson from the Rams and Troy Hill from the Rams. So the Rams did lose some pieces there. Next to Indianapolis, basically they didn't,
coming back.
Yeah,
and
fans may want to still bring that back, but
he's not coming back. He shouldn't come back. After the way the Colts treated him, Justin Turner deep to left field, that's a home run. Oh no, that's a base.
As far as the Colts go, they got Carson Wentz, Marlon Mack, and Xavier Rhodes. So, what was I going to say?
Honestly, I think the Colts depends on Wentz. Like if Wentz turns into his MVP level player again, then I think it might improve them a lot. But if he still is gonna be like the continuation of the recent Philly one, I think it's gonna make them worse.
Yeah, not to mention the contract.
Yeah,
I'm kind of on some Eagles fan sides to where I kind of hope he succeeds because the way he got treated in Philly, man, was just it was unbelievable. So I'm kind of I know some Eagles fans are rooting for him, kind of hope he wins the Super Bowl so he can stick it to Philly. I honestly wouldn't even be mad at that because I've always liked Carson Wentz as a quarterback.
I just like Nick Foles because of he just comes in and basically makes Philly win a Super Bowl. The Saint Nick strikes.
Here's something I just
picked up. 1 second. 1 second. Jack GS, how many wins you got in Fortnite? If you're asking me, I think Fortnite is completely stupid. I'm sorry, but that's just my opinion.
We don't play that.
Per U Stadium's Nick Spano, Steven Nelson would love to play for the Jets.
Why?
Still Jets trade. Probably because of the defensive coordinator / head coach.
Well, I know the Steelers were last year. The Steelers were interested in Marcus May, so I wanted, there could be some chemistry there.
Somehow. Danico Autry, they lost on defense. Jacoby Brissett as the backup. And T.Y. Hilton, obviously, that's not a big loss because he's been an injury-prone wide receiver all his whole career. I expect him to go somewhere like a Rondale Moore or somewhere in the first round, like wide receiver or edge. Have you ever found diamonds in Minecraft?
We don't play.
I used to.
I did find diamonds.
I don't think I have. At least, as I said, it's been months since I played Minecraft.
Now, if you want to talk Grand Theft Auto, I can. If you want to talk Grand Theft Auto, I can have a full-fledged conversation with you then.
How much money did you spend on the virtual credit cards?
What's that?
How much money did you spend on the virtual credit cards in GTA
Are you talking
Online?
about shark cards?
Yeah, the shark cards. How much did you spend in GTA Online?
I've gotten gift cards, so I will use shark cards every now and then. But for the most part, I don't like to use shark cards because it kind of contributes to everything that's wrong with GTA Online. I'm a story mode guy, okay? I'm a single player type of person. Don't get me wrong, I like online, but online's just become so toxic lately. I go on with my one friend, but it's so toxic to where it's like I can't even play it anymore.
I haven't tried the PR stuff in GTA.
No.
Keeping it going with Jacksonville, they got Marvin Jones Jr., Shaquille Griffin, and Philip Dorsett as key players, or I would say, no, I'm not playing Roblox, Jack.
I wouldn't play that.
Robert Harris. They lost Keelan Cole and D.D. Westbrook, so I guess Marvin Jones and Philip Dorsett kind of put it in there, but I think they'll build through the draft. Miami, to be honest with you.
Also, Jacksonville is going to shift out Minshew, which is our downgrade.
Yeah, I mean,
Minshew's the best.
We'll see what happens with that.
They might not even draft Lawrence. They might fall down to Jets.
Could you imagine? Imagine the Jets on him. Imagine if the Jets passed on Trevor Lawrence.
I'm not playing
Don't give me that
Roblox.
image.
Final decision. We're not playing Fortnite either.
So fun if
playing those
Lawrence
video games.
was available at Jets pass on him.
Not playing those video games. Anyway, I sound like an old person. With Miami, I honestly don't know why they traded for Isaiah Wilson, because the other day when he got cut, and he's a bum. Like, he totally took his, draft stock to his misadvantage or other teams or whatever. And, he wasn't showing up to meetings on time. He was basically 3 times DeAndre Baker, 3 times Jamarcus Russell before the draft. And then somebody on Instagram was defending him. It was probably one of his friends or his girlfriends or whatever. She's like, oh, imagine, complaining about Isaiah Wilson when meanwhile you guys don't make as much money as he does. And he threw that away.
He doesn't have any money.
Chuck that out the goddamn window.
Yeah, he's also his Instagram was. I think they just got him not the practice, but after that, some people on Instagram found he's doing drugs, doing lean. So
yeah, he was vaping on one video, and he was supposed to be at the team orientation and work.
Not vaping, I mean lean. That's a drug used in hip hop. Popular in hip hop, he was seen using it. So that's also that was after they got him. It was discovered.
I just don't know why they would trade for him, but I guess they learned quickly.
Honestly, I think they could it's what did they a second 7th round? They did maybe we could fix him for his talent, but they just said nah, we're just gonna take the 7th round pick hit.
Sorry, y'all, I don't play Fortnite, so I respect the offer, but I'll have to pass.
No Fortnite.
Only a couple teams more, and that will probably be the end. What was I going to say? Miami next. Yeah. They lost Ted Karras. They got Matt Skura. They, I don't know if they lost any running backs. I think they lost Matt Breida. They got Malcolm Brown. Adam Butler they gained, but they lost Devin Goodshow. They signed Will Fuller to a prove-it deal, which I'm not a fan of because I just generally don't like Fuller and his injury history. They lost Kyle Van Noy, but gained Justin Coleman. So I think it's been a pretty average offseason for them. But, I honestly think they're kind of like the Giants in a way, to be honest with you.
They're waiting on the quarterback.
Yeah, quarterback, they'll have to decide if he's the answer or not. No, I'm not giving you my gamer tag. With the Buffalo Bills, they're also kind of even with this. They got Trubisky, but they lost Barkley. They lost John Brown, but they gained Emmanuel Sanders.
But Buffalo Bills signed. I forgot they signed Trubisky.
I like that Sanders deal.
Honestly,
I like that Emmanuel.
I would just find it funny if suddenly Buffalo their quarterback gets injured and Trubisky comes in and becomes an MVP. It would be so
God, imagine.
because
No, like I said,
at that point the Bears fan will be horrified because they've lost so much this
Oh, yeah.
offseason.
yeah, I
And
know.
also it's just because he will be that MVP and MVP.
I don't know who
Yeah,
Mr.
I
Beast is. So
He's a popular YouTuber. I don't watch him, but I was gonna say I like the Emmanuel Sanders dude. He's a bit older. I will, he is older, but he can teach some of them young guys. So I like him as a veteran receiver. He's still very talented, So I like that deal. I actually do really like that deal.
We need to extend Logan Ryan, just myself. We need to extend him for like 5 years so we can get so he can vouch for our team again, recruit other players.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me do something real quick because this is needed. That's what I think of that. I'm gonna say, yeah, I really like the Sanders one. I think he's better than John Brown, in my opinion, at least at this point in the game. I think he's definitely a deep threat for them. They lost Ty Nsekhe, but they also re-signed Matt Milano. They lost Josh Norman, but Levi Wallace is back. So again, pretty even offseason for them. The Los Angeles Rams, though you could argue they did lose Austin Blythe on the interior, and they lost Samson Ebukam and Troy Hill. Might lose, I don't know, if they tendered Darius Williams, so pretty good there. They lost Jared Goff, and they also lost Michael Brockers, but they did upgrade with Matt Stafford, and I think Deshaun Watson signing kind of fills the void as that third, fourth receiver.
Yeah, I think they could. Depends how Matthew start. Like if he improves the offense a lot, then I think they can be a really big threat because the defense and the especially the defensive line is really strong for them. So if the offense suddenly takes a big step, it could be they could be a big threat.
Bartolo Colon, he's retired, isn't he?
No, he just doesn't play for anyone. No one will sign him.
Yeah, exactly. What was I say? Final team of the night. I think this team is pretty even matched. Their corners need to grow, and they will need to do some building through the draft to finish up, or else Mike Zimmer might just get fired. We'll see what happens, though. I'm not a Vikings fan.
I think the Vikings are similar to the Titans. Like Kirk Cousins decent, but it's going through their running back most of the offense. They're relying on that. That's how they beat Green Bay. They just run them to the ground, for example.
Because Green Bay has absolutely no run defense. And I honestly think at this point in the game, if they have those young corners fully developed with Mike Zimmer as the defensive head coach, I think the Vikings could actually be better than the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, they could be like Bears. They could be Bears. They could have they could have stream. They have great defense, but no offense.
Try again.
I used to have a pet bird, then it got eaten by a cat.
I won't agree. I don't agree with saying that the Vikings could be better than the Titans. Personally, I still think Tennessee is a better team. The problem that I have with Minnesota is Kirk Cousins. It's just the inconsistency. It's almost getting to the point where I question if the Kirk Cousins deal really was the right deal. And I never said it was from the start. I mean, I still remember when the Jets were willing to give up their entire salary cap to get Kirk Cousins. I don't see – I personally, I think this is his last chance. So
honestly, I think he's like Alex Smith but worse.
Yeah.
That's the problem with him. He's not Alex Smith more consistent. He can manage. He threw 10-yard checkdowns, but he
not my birthday.
Well.
Mm-hmm.
Not my birthday. Anyway, to finish this off,
I think he's just bowling. Bowling at this point.
They gained Patrick Peterson. They gained Dalvin Tomlinson from the Giants and Stephen Weatherly from the Carolina Panthers to replace Fede Odenigbo. They lost Kyle Rudolph to the Giants. They also lost Anthony Harris to the Eagles. They lost Riley Reif to the Cincinnati Bengals. So Reif, obviously could probably just draft a left tackle. I like the addition of Tomlinson next to Michael Pierce. At least I think that's his name. Probably is. Patrick Peterson, though he had a bad year, does help out that young secondary, that young core. Excuse me, there's an ant here. Really. Anthony Harris, we'll see what happens with the safety core. But anyway, any final thoughts, Potato?
No, I think it's fine. I think like that. Like I think they're like on point. I feel like the Chargers again like are the same as Falcons. Like they got better, but I think they can still like choke a lot.
I think yeah, definitely. And I think they had a top 10 offense and defense. Just the coaching was really bad last year. So
they might like get better. I will see. I think like how big, for example, like Green Bay again choking in an AFC final game because that'll be 3 times in a row. Or was it
Yeah.
NFC?
I'm pretty sure Anthony Lynn's the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions now, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll see. We'll see about that. Potato, was obviously nice talking to you again. You are in a different time zone, so grateful that you could actually show up and talk some football with us tonight.
It's 3 in the morning.
Yeah. My props to you. You have so much energy for 3 in the morning. See, me at 3 in the morning, I struggle at that time of the night just to stay
because
awake.
That's when I go to bed. Like I usually my day, I wake up at 1 p.m.
Yeah, so do I. I'm the same way. But no, I give you your props. I got a lot of respect for you for coming on and that time of the night to join us. So really appreciate it. You know.
Yeah. Now I have to go to bed to be ready to wake up.
Bobby,
at 12.
Yeah.
Alex, Bobby has a message for you. He asks, "Can he join our clan?"
I don't have 1,000 subscribers yet, so no. Anyway, good night, Potato.
Good night.
Have some restful sleep over there at 3 a.m.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. You too.
Sorry, I almost cut him off there, but I was gonna say, does this view look better or this one?
Either or works for me. It don't matter.
Yeah.
I kind of like that one actually. I like that one better.
This one?
I like this one better.
All right.
So one
Anyway,
just to find out. Yeah.
Anyway, with the trolls in the chat, for anyone who is actually still watching and not just trolling, even the trolls too, but especially the viewers that have stayed, 2 hours and 2 to 3 hours during this, is, obviously the Yankee game and the NFL free agency and all that stuff. Potato, I think, was him and Greg were only guests tonight. I apologize to Joel Yaddo. He was in the studio for a little bit. I'll be sure to get him at least next time on the show next week. Oh God, Bobby's saying something to you, Luca.
What did he say? No.
Okay.
No.
Anyway,
No.
I'll send it over to Sean.
Two-run home run.
I'll send it over to Sean, then I'll send it over to Luca, and then I'll wrap up.
All right, well, good night tonight. Obviously, I mean, unfortunate the way the Yankee game turned out. Hopefully we'll have some better luck next time. Obviously, 10 days away from spring training, 10 days away from opening day. So,
yeah.
Well, obviously, I think our next episode, I think we should cover a little bit more about MLB. I think next week we should do a similar style video, but with the MLB and season previews, stuff like that. Obviously, you want more in-depth look, go to Uncut Sports. We got previews coming out for all 30 teams. So check out the website for that. Other than that, thanks for having me again. Appreciate it.
Obviously nothing really happening with baseball. I just hope more NFL news comes out, a little more free agency, so we can go more in depth when free agency is officially over. So I'm sure we'll have more news next week about certain teams and whatever. But it's the NFL offseason, and yeah, thank you for having me on, Alex.
I just want to say real quick, Trevor Bauer is being walked all over. They put up 4 runs on him in just this one inning alone, and it's 4-2 Seattle. So Trevor Bauer is already making a great impression.
Very funny, Potato. Obviously, guys, it's always a pleasure to have these two idiots on. But they are close to me. For some time, I just wanted to get them on the channel and do some weekly thing. Obviously, with this idea ever since our first live stream, and then obviously the first inaugural episode with Entertainer and Cop Pizzle, I do want to try to aim for a guest.
Trust us too. This is going to get a lot better because come July, when I will be living in the city, things are going to get interesting. This could be this show right here. I think has got a lot of potential. Once I am officially in the Big Apple.
I mean, we could do a show just all 3 of us live if we wanted to. Once you get in the Big Apple. Be interesting to do with audio and stuff like that.
Bobby has a message for you, Sean.
I already saw. I'm not even gonna answer.
All right. I'm gonna be honest. I don't want to be that guy, but you know what? I'll just leave them to it. But I was gonna time them out, but I'm like, you know what? It's almost the end of the stream anyway. So, in terms of content, if you guys haven't already, go watch the last video. I do want to explain it a little bit here. I will probably be discontinuing for right now the Big Blue in the Bronx podcast. I'll be doing this one every Monday, obviously, but I'm gonna do it more of a video thing because obviously those are shorter. Appreciate it, Bobby. But obviously your spam is funny. But anyway, in terms of, content creating, stuff like that, I got baseball, I got college decisions to make. I got a lot of stuff that are on my mind in, the most recent days, or at least the coming days. And, just, I'm not saying it's going to be a chore for me, but, I feel like making videos rather than just planning out a podcast is a lot funner. No, I know, Bobby. But that's why I'm going to be switching to videos for a while. I'll bring it back maybe at some point in the game. You don't have to apologize to everybody, Bobby. But anyway, as I said, guys.
Another home run.
Another
5-2 Seattle. They're lighting up Bauer. This is hilarious. I'm loving this.
But anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. 3 hours, 3 minutes, 40 something seconds. Probably going to be 3 minutes. 3 hours, 4 minutes. Guys, you can obviously check these guys out on social media. I might have a video tomorrow or sometime the next day because I do want to make up for the the podcast and stuff like that, because I don't want to just be just leaving you guys out there and not having something come out on my channel. We will be live opening day, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be live opening day. I won't be streaming tomorrow. I'll probably have a video come out tomorrow or the next day. And guys, do catch me. I'll probably be on Cush's stream tomorrow night. So anyway, guys, peace out from the three of us. We'll see you next Monday and then Thursday. But anyway, peace out, everybody. Bobby, everyone else. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.
Have a good night.